Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. Now, as you may have gathered, I am not Gimli. I am in fact Kris with quite a heavy cold, sadly. I'll be your host for tonight's show. Gimli will return once Jason
Maybe.
unlocks the shed.
No, it's not where
Um,
he is. He's gone to New Zealand. I've told you why. They're
ah?
shooting the fourth in the trilogy of the Hobbit films, and they needed a ginger Hobbit.
Oh, what's it called? Like
Yes.
The Hobbit, Merthyr Down Under, or?
It's just called the Angry Ginger one. It's just him at a computer cunting random strangers off constantly.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah,
well, we'll look forward to that.
yeah,
But he's fine, isn't he?
yeah.
He's just having a week off for a few bits and bobs.
Well, it
So
should be streamed live on Chatterbait any day now.
let's not go there for Christ's sakes. Right. Okay. Let's crack on. So my guests tonight are, as you can probably imagine, first up, he has to be here. Apparently,
Mm.
it's the cheddar munching, Tassimo slurping, daylight sleeper, Danny the
You've slipped
GFP.
Tassimo in there.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, well spotted.
Because I take notice of my fellow people on this
I'm
podcast. I know
I'm
your habits.
I'm not happy with Tassimo at the moment because the Milka chocolates, they've changed it from a liquid to a powder, and it all gunks up and you only get half of it out. So if anyone from Tassimo is listening, I'm not happy. I've got 80 of those fucking things in the cupboard.
I've got to be honest. I don't think Mr. Tassimo listens to this
Oh,
podcast, but if
Mrs.
he
Tassimo,
does, yeah, true,
it
true.
might be a
Well,
gooner.
answers on a postcard for those of you that need to help Danny out with this
Yes.
life-changing problem.
Birmingham B12JP, tis was. Get on with it.
Anyway, next up, we're going to take it up a notch. A true professional. You'll mostly find him at presses, chatting to Wenger or Ranieri, or occasionally attractive sports reporters in Zagreb. He's always got the inside scoop. It's our chief fanny journalist himself. It's Simon Collings. Good evening, Simon.
How you doing, Chris? You alright?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I feel like I talk to you every day, but not on this sort of medium. So it's nice, isn't it?
No, it's good. Nice to be on here. Haven't been on for a while.
No, well, you're very welcome, and no doubt have lots of pearls of wisdom to share with us this evening. So, welcome back. Right, on to our third guest. Recently dubbed my podcasting husband. Not sure what to make of that. He's a second in command of ABW Radio. He's a Serie A ITK of the Football Hipsters podcast, and the beard that most feared in Ladies of Essex. It's Mr. John Welsh. Evening, John.
Beard most feared. That's
It's good,
makes me
isn't
sound
it?
a bit rapey, to be honest, mate.
Well, I was going to say that would make it accurate, but I don't actually want people to think you're.
Move on, move on.
Move on, move
It's never proven.
on. Never proven, allegedly. Okay, and finally, cream-covered donuts and crisp apple strudels, toppings for pizzas and schnitzel with noodles, Ferrero Rocher packages tied up with string. These are a few of his favourite things. Reverend, it's been a while. It's Mr.
How you doing,
Hospital.
Chris? How's things? How's
I'm,
life?
I'm good, mate. That took me at least 5 minutes of my lunch break to write that, so I
I'm
hope
going
you
to be. I'm going
appreciate
to be in
it.
Plymouth in December. You're going to come down and see the show.
Do you know what, mate? I might actually. If you are down here, I will. Yes.
21st. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. Good to see that we're keeping our racial quotas up for this week at least,
We are.
and crack on.
If you had a beard, Raj, you'd be on more often.
Keep the
Yeah, that's a good one.
keep the flag waving. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good to hear from you again, mate. It's been a while, but yes, I will come. Is that at Pavilions? Is that
it is indeed.
splendid? Yes, I will make the effort. I only work 5 minutes from there, so happy days.
If you come to Cambridge, I'll even come and see the mighty.
Next March.
Are you? Ooh.
You've been
Yeah.
told.
One exchange.
Can't go back on that now,
I'll
Danny.
have the corner. Oh, I'll go. I'll go and sit in a bar.
I'll save you triple wheelchair space.
Hey, oh no, I've got to be up in the box. I'll take 3 people with me and I shall pay for all of my tickets.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
Fattest. Anyway, right, enough of this nonsense. Let's talk some Arsenal. So, Danny, we're going to start as we always do, I think, with a loan watch and an injury update. What's going down?
And the under 23s and the reserves. That's the other thing I forgot to
and all
message
them.
you. Yes.
Yeah,
This would be. I'll get through this quickly. We played the Everton in the under 23s. Come to Arsenal and they beat us 5-0. Now at first I thought that's shocking. My mate Dean had a right old laugh at me. But then you've got to take into account the fact that most of our decent under 23s were in the squad to come and play the team or the squad. Which one is it? Which one's the biggest one? The squad. Yeah, the squad for the Forest game. So we're still third bottom. But luckily, there's only 2 teams go back down into the second tier of under 23s football, and that's the 2 teams that are below us because neither of them have won a game this season or got a point, I think. So I think we've won one, but anyway, never mind. The under 18s, another loss. We went to Chelsea, lost 4-2 Geordie, Osei, Tutu, and Josh Benson both scored the goals, but we're still top. That's our first loss of the season, so that's pretty good. That's made me happy. Lone watch, Jack Wilshere, Bournemouth lost 4-0 to Man City. He started and played the first 68 minutes and came off. Don't really think he did much there again. I don't think anybody is going to do much against Man City this season. One of you wrote something in there. Oh, Raj needs a wee. Callum Chambers is on the bench yet again for Middlesbrough against Everton. I think he's been on the bench the last 4, possibly 5 games. Super Dan Crowley, as we all know, future England legend, unused sub against McDonald's, the Scottish team. Now, I think George Bird said something the other day that he's in their development squad. I thought that's not why he has gone to a League One team to be in a bloody development squad. He should be starting every single game, but yet another disastrous move by our people who decide the loans, because most of them are pointless. Glenn Kamara, no relation to the legend, is Chris Kamara, on loan at Colchester, not in the squad v Barnet. Again, why the hell is he there? That's 4 games in a row he's not even been in the squad. He could be injured. I don't know how you find that information for little teams. It wouldn't have mattered. Barnet would have smashed them. Ryan Huddart, unused sub for Eastleigh against Macclesfield in the conference. Again, why is one of our players going there? He's played 1 game all bloody season. Pointless. Super John Terrell, already a legend. He's at Granada in Spain. Not in the squads for either of their games against Real Betis or Bilbao. Which one is Bilbao? Is that Athletic Bilbao or Atletico?
Yeah, Athletic.
Oh, I always get mixed up with that. So not in the squads for either of their games. What's I don't understand it. Julio Peguilio of
Mallorca.
Bless you. Mallorca, they're in the second tier, which is strange because Mallorca have always been quite often been a La Liga team.
It's my team, Danny.
Is it?
Mhm.
Oh,
they're terrible. I think they're bottom at the moment.
They're an island team, aren't they? So how long has it been since they were in the top division?
They went down, I think it's 3 seasons ago now, and they've never come back up. Albert Ferrer used to manage them.
Who did?
Albert Ferrer,
the old defender.
Player. Yeah.
Oh, fullback.
I knew a girl from Mallorca who used to go down and never come back up.
I see someone else has wrote something in the box. You're going to keep me talking. Good.
Yes.
So he wasn't in the squad against Girona, so never mind. Another pointless bloody move. Now a move. Are you ready, everybody? A move that's actually working out. Takuma Asano. Takuma.
What
Asano.
a wonderful phrase.
Yes, he's playing for Stuttgart, which we all know should be a Bundesliga team, but they got relegated there, I think, at the end of last season. He started in their 1-0 win over Kaiserslautern. Why is it only German things I can say properly? Oh, I'm bloody cursed.
That's debatable.
I'm going to test this in a second. And he started and scored in the 2-0 win over Eintracht Braunschweig.
Very good.
Hold on, listen. Is that Drew crying or is Drew nodding?
Nodding, I think.
Nodding.
That was very good.
Cheers, Drew. And they're now second in the German second division. I expect them to go up this season, and hopefully he'll get a load of goals. Szczesny, still with Roma for his second season, started both their games in the Serie A, lost 1-0 to Fiorentina, and beat Crotone 4-0. Now, I think they've only just come up for their first ever season in Serie A, and they're going to go straight back down again. Are they, John?
Yeah, they've got 1 point all season.
I think it's one player.
They're pretty bad. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Anyway, Roma are third. Joel Campbell, Sporting Lisbon, one of the best teams in Portugal, started in a 3-1 loss away to Rio Ave, and came off at half-time. I didn't look into that any further, but it looks like he might have been injured. They are currently second in their league. Tafari Moore, playing in the Utrecht, which is the Dutch First Division, came on after 66 minutes in their 5-1 loss to FC Groningen and played left-back. They're now 16th out of 18 teams. Stefan O'Connor, Irish legend to be sure, and Kalichi, I'm not going to say his surname, are both at Maastricht in the Dutch Second Division. Stefan was an unused sub in the 1-0 win over Ajax youth team, because in Holland, most of the big teams, their second teams, the under-21s play in the second division. So at the moment, PSV are running away with that. And Kalichi came on for the last minute. There you go, that's brilliant. So Maastricht are fourth in that league, but when you take out the fact that PSV are top, they won't go up because you can't have 2 teams in the same division. So they're fourth now. And then the next one to do was the injury room. which I always look at, the arsenalreport.com. Very great site. Ramsey, hamstring. He's been out for 39 days. Should be back any day now. Giroud, he's been out for 9 days because he got sent off. I mean, no, because he's hurt his foot. Jenks is been out for 243 days. Only 6 weeks left to go. Then we'll be at banter level 10. Mertesacker, he's been out for 64 days. He's got a knee injury. They reckon it'll be 2 months. And the Invisible Man, Danny Welbeck, meniscus tear, 137 days, lost back in 4 months. We've got a question coming up about injuries later. So there you go.
Well,
Not too bad.
That about covers it, doesn't it, Danny? Now, before we move on to our main chunk of the podcast, etc., not you, I believe we got a Shaka watch for this past week.
We certainly do, yes. He played 24 minutes against Hull. He come on in the second half. Yeah, he did, didn't he? He didn't start, no. I didn't see the game. I've only seen the goals. 91 pass success rate. He got 42 out of 46 passes correct. Wonderful. He had 2 shots on goal, one of which was a goal, and the other one was on target. Was it on target? And one Thunder Bastard. Officially one Thunder Bastard. He played 90 minutes against Nottingham Forest in the League Cup. No idea of the stats, as who scored don't bother. Thank you very much. He scored 1 goal, and officially that was another Thunder Bastard. So it's 2 games, 2 Thunder Bastards. Lovely.
Happy days. Happy days. Okay. Do you want to know how my lot are getting on?
Oh, Chris, how are the Pirates getting on? Because every week you send me the thing, and every week it's on my phone, and I forget to transfer. You should tweet me it. I'd had it then.
I should.
So can I use my team, mister?
Well, we'll keep it brief because I'm sure people aren't that interested. But
I think they are.
we're into we're well into the season now. We've gone out of both cups is a disappointment, but we're concentrating on the league. So it's 4 wins from 5 in the league. We're third in the table. Last couple of results since we last spoke to you, we beat Tamar View, having lost to them in the cup the week before. We came back with a terrific 4-1 victory away from home in the league the week after. So revenge. Got 2 goals that day, as did Alex Hambley, our other striker.
Good old Alex.
And then 2 weeks ago, we beat Riverside Saints Reserves. Alex Hambley scored again, and Scott with a late winner, 2-1 victory there in the league. And then last week was the defeat in the cup, unfortunately, losing 5-2 to Seymour Arms, a team from the league above us. But not the end of the world, because, as I say, cup games and all that's not that important. And this weekend, we're playing SB Frankfurt away from home. I know.
Is that Drew's team? Does he own them?
No.
Like it.
But they're a good side. That will be a proper test. They're second and we're third. So it's a top table clash. And we're doing all right this season. Lots of new players. Squad of 24. But it's shaping up rather nicely. We've got lovely new kits, which, Danny, I think you've seen.
I think I've seen. Yeah, and it's very nice. I was just thinking whether I should ask you, will you be putting on your boots this season?
No. I am registered.
Yes.
Should the need ever arise.
That's on a certain register.
Yeah, that's a different kind. Sort of register John knows a bit about. But no, I won't be playing unless absolutely desperate this season, and I don't think we'll ever get to that point. And Callum, top scorer of the season so far with 6 goals from his 6 games, and Alex Hambley with 5 goals from his 4 games.
Wonderful.
So goal scorers and everything's looking good. Happy days, eh?
It certainly is.
Right, let's move back to Arsenal then, because that's why people are tuning in. So we're going to start with all the way back, seems like a while ago actually, back to Hull City. And with his thoughts, we're going to go to Raj.
Me? Okay, fair enough. I'm quite enjoying Arsenal at the moment, I have to say. I know I'm a negative bastard, but I'm quite enjoying the resilience and the steel that we're showing in some of these games. I thought on Saturday we played quite well. The sending off of Livermore obviously did help us in getting the advantage over Hull. But I thought personally that Walcott and Iwobi were the stars of the game. I know Sanchez scored a couple of goals, but I thought they were brilliant. And I thought that Theo was excellent on the wing. And this is what we need to see from him this season. And I think maybe he's got the message now, because there is going to be competition of places. Hopefully we'll be talking about competition of places later on in this podcast about the midfield dilemma that we might have over the next few weeks. But I was very, very impressed, and I think there is certainly something about the team that gives me a little bit of hope over the next few months. Obviously, we need to kind of stay off the kind of no injury-stricken November that we normally have. But if we can avoid that, I think we're in a great position, and it was a well-earned 3 points, in my opinion.
Yeah, some good points there. And John, I'll come to you. Raj picked up on the fact Theo Walcott bagged a decent performance and a decent goal as well. His 100th in his club career, which seems a little bit strange because he seems to have been around for, well, yonks, he has really. But what do you make of this sort of new look Theo Walcott attitude-wise and his desire to track back and actually affect the play when he's being utilised by the manager this season?
I think it's like Raj said, because there's competition now, he knows he's not going to start. I think the not being picked for England for the Euros was a big thing as well. I think there's or a lot of the English players anyway, really value that being in the England team, and he's certainly one of them. And he was taking his spot for granted. So I think it's hopefully given him the kick up the arse that he needed, because we all know that when he's on it, he can score goals and he's a real threat to teams. And you saw last season probably one of the best games I've ever seen Theo Walcott play when he played against Man United up front. The pressure he was putting on defences and tracking back and making tackles and things like that. If he does that game in, game out, then he'll start. I'm still not 100% sold because it's still early days, and I know that he often disappears. But if he keeps performing like that, I'll be very happy with it. I hope he does, because there's, as good as we have been up front and from wide positions, I'm not convinced by the backups we've got at the moment.
No, fair points. And Simon, just on that sort of positional thing of the upfront issue, Alexis Sanchez is fielding that position at the moment. It seems to be something the manager wants to persist with. Rumours rife about the reasons why. What do you make of it, and what's your views on why it's happening?
I think like everyone else, it was a strange one when you buy a striker in the transfer window and you bring him in, and then Giroud comes back from a successful Euros. Admittedly, it took him a bit longer to get back to full fitness, but Wenger seems to persevere with this idea of having Sanchez through the middle. I know in the past few seasons it hasn't really worked, but if you look at the goal tallies, then you can't really argue against it. I mean, against Hull, everyone was chastising Wenger before the match, saying that it's the wrong decision. Why isn't Giroud playing or Lucas playing? And Sanchez scored twice. So if Sanchez keeps scoring, then I think it makes sense. And for Wenger, the fact that Walcott said at the start of the season he doesn't want to play up front anymore, he wants to play on the right, it makes it easier to be able to get Iwobi, Sanchez and Walcott in the team if Sanchez plays through the middle, because otherwise he's got to drop probably Iwobi, and Iwobi's been, I think this season, one of the best players in the squad. So for Wenger, having Sanchez playing through the middle, it gives him another option, but I still think long term Giroud is the answer there in terms of his hold-up play and his link play. But if Sanchez keeps scoring, then there's no reason why Wenger won't stick with it. And if the stats back it up, then it's probably the right call.
Yeah, agreed. And like you said, the goal, particularly the first one, was a bit of luck, sort of firing in off Iwobi's sort of shot, just kind of hit him and went in. I'm still not convinced it's his goal, but he's been given it. The second one, though, he was in exactly the right place to finish that, as a centre forward should be. So I guess at least if nothing else, the ball fell to him in the right spot.
I think when he was bought as well, there was an idea that he would potentially play through the middle in the same sort of mould as Suarez, and that was when Arsenal didn't get Suarez. Sanchez had that same sort of characteristics and physical capabilities to play through the middle. So I think Wenger's always liked him there. And he maybe thinks now, after 2 years, that Sanchez can finally do it. That could be the case. But if it's another option as another striker while Welbeck's out, I think it's good for Wenger to try it.
Yeah, agreed. And Danny, as far as the league goes, that's back-to-back away victories by 2 or more goals clear. Obviously, after beating Watford a few weeks ago, and doing the same to Hull, who've been in decent nick. Granted, like Simon touched on, the red card kind of changed the game. I think it's fair to say when Jake Livermore turned into a keeper. But what do you think this does for the confidence of the team now heading into a game which we'll preview later on at home to Chelsea?
Well, it's now 1 loss in 15 Premier League games, which is fantastic. Not that we've really come up against anybody that massively hard to play, apart from maybe Liverpool, and that's the one that we lost. But it's you can't do anything other than just continuously win and win well. And I think teams that are going to come and play us are going to be a bit scared. We've got so many attacking players and all capable of scoring goals. And wait till Ozil starts banging in a few. And then, Xhaka, everyone's going to be worried about Xhaka. They may even double mark him because He's got that eye for goal, and he's a brilliant passer. We've already shown how good he was with his stats, but he's got to fill the whole team full of confidence. And them lot were just talking about the Iwobi Walcott goal. That was probably. I mean, Xhaka's goal was brilliant, but the play between those two, the way they passed it through, it's like they were doing it in training and there was no one else around, and they're doing it around some of those big metal things that the players use for free kicks to bend the ball around them. Look like that. It was a wonderful thing to see. And it's really nice seeing Theo settling in on the right hand side, scoring goals and playing well and enjoying his football and playing most of the games on that side as well. It's not like Wenger keeps taking him out and playing maybe the Ox there or putting Sanchez over to the right. So yeah, it's nice to see him there, and it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, agreed to Raj's point. I think he has, for all the stick Theo gets, and a lot of it rightly so, this season he does seem to have a slightly changed attitude. It's just one other thing I wanted to ask. I'm going to pick on Simon and Raj for this. Simon, I'll start with you. The Santi Cazorla Francis Coquelin partnership. I've seen a lot of people on social media sort of cussing it, saying, "Oh, Xhaka's got to play," etc. Are we being too quick to forget that this was probably our best midfield partnership for a good 8 months of last year? And is it just going to take a bit of time for that to kick back in, or are you more of a fan of putting Xhaka in now?
I mean, I can understand Wenger's logic with it simply because, like you say, it worked so well for a large majority of last season, and it was a very good partnership before Santi got injured. And I don't think we realised how good a partnership it was until Cazorla got taken out of it. But for me personally, you just got to play Granit Xhaka. It's like buying a brand new car and sticking your Ferrari on the driveway and saying, no, I'm going to stick with the Ford Mondeo because it served me so well in the past. You've got to upgrade the team when you can. And for me, Xhaka's shown in these first sort of 5-6 weeks how good a player he is. And we're not Manchester City where we can spend 30 million quid on a player and he can be a squad player. We haven't spent 30 million pounds on a players. You can count on one hand the number of times we've done that. And I think personally, gradually, I think it will come over time with Wenger, but Xhaka has to be in the team simply because of what he's doing on the pitch, and whether that means sacrificing Cazorla, because I think, as Drew said, when we signed Xhaka, he's not an out-and-out holding midfielder. He's seen by his passing and the way he gets forward. He's a bit more box-to-box, so perhaps he needs to play with a Coquelin or an El Nene, and maybe Cazorla goes out of the team. But I think that's the way it's going to be eventually. And Santi's 31 years old, and Granit's coming in at this sort of age. I think it will slowly materialise into that. But I can understand Wenger. It's loyalty to someone like Cazorla and Coquelin, and maybe he starts with that. But I'd be surprised if one of the podcasts in December talking about the Cazorla-Coquelin partnership. I just can't see it lasting, to be honest.
Your thoughts, Raj?
I thought they did perfectly well on Saturday, but there is this kind of unique selection dilemma that Arsene Wenger probably hasn't had for quite a while because of injuries and lack of depth and stuff like that. And he's probably quite enjoying it in some ways. Xhaka is class, and I don't think there's a person out there who doesn't agree with that. How you get him in, I don't know. I mean, how do you drop players that are playing well? I mean, Coquelin's stats were amazing. I agree with Simon that he has to stay in the team. So it would have to probably be a straight swap with Cazorla, which is a shame because he's not playing that badly. And it's going to be a really tough decision. But I think Xhaka has to play sooner rather than later. He is absolute quality. I've been so impressed with him. And I'm actually very, very excited about him being in the team for on a big run. But it would be a pity that Cazorla has to make way. So he's gonna have to work it out. And I think it's something that Arsene Wenger relishes because he hasn't had that in the past for quite a while. That there's so many good players vying for those positions. So good luck to Arsene. I wouldn't like to make that decision myself, but I would imagine it would be Cazorla for Xhaka.
I think it's something you pick your battles with, maybe, isn't it? Look at the weekend and you're playing, Chelsea against Matic and Kante. You might think, right, let's play Xhaka, and then you look in Tuesday and you're playing, or Wednesday you're playing Basel at home. You think, right, we can probably play Cazorla in that. I think it's going to be just a case of picking when it's best to play the two, and to have the luxury of being able to do that. Like we say, Arsenal haven't been able to do that for 5, 6, 7 years, where Wenger can pick and choose, and it's not going to have too much an effect on the team by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. As I say, we will touch on that in our debate section a little bit later on in the podcast. But we'll move on then to the midweek game, which was Nottingham Forest in the Ethel Cup, as we're going to call it. John, let's start with you. Series of changes, a few debuts, a few sort of surprises maybe to the lineup. Not sure everybody saw the Jeff starting or Martinez obviously coming in goal. Comprehensive 4-0 victory, some lovely goals in that, some good talking points. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the lineup. I suppose the surprises were the youngsters, but it was always going to be a guessing game of which ones from the sort of development squad were going to come in because he likes to do that. Good for Perez, obviously, to get his full debut. It was a decent performance. I thought first half was a little bit uh, the connection with the players. You could see that Perez hadn't been with all of the team very for a long period of time because the communication wasn't quite there and they weren't linking up properly. I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain was quite poor in the first half, but second half it was much more improved. The Jeff was getting in in the game a lot more. Akpom was very good. I thought everything was going through Xhaka, really controlling midfield, and then Elneny was just sort of orbiting around him, just running. I don't know how he manages to cover so much distance. He's got an amazing engine on him, just spraying the ball about. But yeah, look, very comfortable. It's the sort of game you expect to win anyway. Really good for Perez to get his goals. First half, I didn't think he played great, but second half, with his second goal in particular, showed some really good battling. He was a lot more physical than I thought he was because he looks quite a slight player, but he really battled for that ball, and then it was a really good finish. And then nice for the Ox, who hadn't had the best of games, to get a goal right at the end with the Perez assist, which hopefully can give him a bit of confidence because he hasn't had the greatest start to the season. But yeah, nice to be able to rotate the squad that much, but still see that many sort of players who you would expect to be first team, like Perez, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Xhaka, Elneny. Even Rob Holding, who's obviously come in this season and done really, really well so far already. It's nice to have that depth for a change because normally League Cup is kind of, well, we're not particularly bothered. We'll just throw out the youth players, give them some experience, and that's it.
Yeah, some good points there. And Danny, we were sat here, weren't we, this time last season, saying, Sheffield Wednesday, that'll be a fairly easy kind of trip up the line, and probably come away with a close fought 2-0 or 2-1, and we got absolutely hammered. And it was and there was injuries. I remember Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain both pulling up lame in that game, and it was all doom and gloom. Well, this week it was a lot better, and it's good to see, particularly your favourite Tuba playing on the left hand side, and Five's friend Ashley Maitland-Niles, Conservative, playing right back.
You're not allowed to say the Conservative.
Oh no, I'm not. Sorry, Ashley Maitland-Niles.
Conservative.
Thank you. Playing right back, and he's known to be more of a flying winger, and Arsene Wenger does have that habit of turning players from one into another. So, what is your sort of general views on the game and highlight performances?
Well, the bit about the Ashley playing on the right, he has. George Bird said he has played 2 games at right back. He's done a little bit of training at right back, but I don't think that's his position because he was fantastic last season. Well, very good last season for Ipswich. Mick McCarthy said he's a very bright, has a very bright future. I think if his mum would just leave stuff alone and let him get on with the game, that was him, wasn't it?
Yes, he had. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with his mother. Training ground, I think.
I think she sent Mick McCarthy, who is someone you don't want to annoy, sent him a bit of a shitty voice message or a text about playing her son. But I don't think we'll see him at right back. I think it's mainly because we haven't got anybody else at right back. If most would have been fit, it would have been Debuchy playing at right back there. It's an interesting game. Yeah, nice to see a lot of those players get games. Nice to see Martinez get a game and keep a clean sheet because he's had a terrible season last season. Started as went to Wolves on loan, played part of the season or the first half or third of the season, got injured and then never got his place back, which kind of shows that how many pointless loans that we have. Gabriel I thought he looked quite bad at times. Like it's his first game back since his injury, isn't it? And you can't expect too much. But one thing for Forest, they did drop their number one striker. And they played Bentner, and Bentner was the one who I thought for the first half hour, because he's so unfit. I mean, he was let go before the end of last season by Wolfsburg, but for the little match ability he had, I thought he was their best player. In fact, probably the game's best player for the first half hour. He was really onto it. A couple of times he crossed to other players. He wasn't being his usual selfish self, and he got stuck in and got himself a yellow card. Talking about the other players on their team, another ex-player, Arsenal player Henry Lansbury, should have had at least 3 yellow cards. He was not playing well at all. He looked like he was only out there to hurt people. But their player who they didn't start was Velios, who was their top goal scorer, and then they had another bloke. I think he's Finnish and he's a defender, and he's their second top goal scorer with 2 or 3 goals. So I think they had already decided they didn't really want to play in the league, play in the League Cup, and they were just going to concentrate on the league, which is what so many teams do, because they don't need all these extra games piling up. Because in the Championship you play 46 games a season, and so that's virtually every Saturday, Wednesday, or possibly Tuesday or Sunday. So I was quite impressed. Perez, nice for him to score his first goal, because it's always worrying when a striker doesn't get off the mark, and then the more the games they go, or the more minutes they play and they don't score, the harder it is for the player. And all the youth players looked really good. El Neni was looking good as usual. I think he'd start in many Premier League teams. He's just a really, really nice player to watch. And like you said, the Jeff coming on. But most importantly, the player I was really happy to see come on for the Jeff after 83 minutes. It's LLM.
No.
Oh, is that all
Did
you've
it?
got?
Well, I feel a bit rough, so I
Oh.
don't want to overcook it. You can only go so far.
And Bielik got a game, and he's another one who's got a promising future with us. So it's a good job to see so many of the youth players come through and get games. And if you look at it, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 youth players, or not? They're not youth, are they? 7 of our under 23s all played a game, which is really, really good for all of those. And hopefully we'll stay in the cup a little bit longer, go to Reading and smack them 7-4.
Yes, as you rightly say, we have drawn Reading at home in the next round. But sticking with this game, Raj, what's your thoughts? You obviously go to as many games as you can, work allowing. What's your thoughts on the Lucas Perez signing and what you've seen of him so far? I know it's way too early to judge, but the one thing he does give us, which is different to Giroud, is that ability to run in behind, and we saw that with the second goal.
He's doing all right at the moment. He just needs a lot more game time. I don't know how he's going to get that unless there are injuries, which we don't want. Sanchez seems to be proving himself up front at the moment, so he's not going to be budged. Giroud will be back soon enough. And Perez will probably be third in the pecking order, so he'll probably play cup games to start off with and a few substitute appearances. But yeah, you're right. I'm not going to make any judgments whatsoever on Perez. He looks decent, and he's got the pace and the energy, and he's certainly has a very good work ethic. But I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll just give it a few more months and see how he does. It might take him the season to settle in, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he comes in with some real vital goals over the next 4 or 5 months. I'm going to stay positive about him. He's no Sanogo, put it that way, Chris.
No, that's true. Yeah.
I wrote Sanogo off within about a game and a half, probably.
He's missing.
He's the only player. He's the only player in Arsenal history, and we've had some bad ones in my time supporting the club, that I thought this kid is no good. But Perez comes nowhere near that. So thank God for that anyway.
Yeah.
When Raj just said no Sanogo, did 2 Unlimited come into anybody's head?
A little bit. Yeah.
No Sanogo.
Oh, very good.
No.
You almost
no
wanted,
Sanogo.
You almost wanted to succeed just to get that going, don't you? Almost. Yeah.
If you need a singer, Raj, you let me know.
I'm trying to be serious, and you're just basically ruining everything I say.
Destroy it, yeah.
I can hear you giggling.
Turning everything into us. I'm not giggling at all.
Just go and have a roll pizza. You'll be fine.
I'm having some crispy wontons. Keep telling me that.
Oh, hello.
Nom. Simon, let's wrap up with you on this game. So, yeah, obviously a comfortable package. We saw not your uncomfortable. I'll rephrase that. A comfortable passage into the next round is what I meant to say.
That's
Kieran
not much
Gibbs,
better.
No, it's not really. Kieran Gibbs captain in the side for the first time. I thought that was a nice touch for the manager, seeing as he's been out of favour quite a lot recently. We touched on the youngsters playing and the partnership of Xhaka and Mohamed El Nene. What's your sort of thoughts? Feel free to give your thoughts on the game, but also with a look ahead to the next round. We've got Reading. We've seen that Liverpool drawn Spurs and Manchester United have drawn Manchester City. So there's a good opportunity here if we want to take it, would be fair to suggest. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And with Chelsea, West Ham as well as another another good tie for us. So I think it'd be good for Arsenal to have a little go at it. I know it was 2007, 2008 where we made the final and Walcott scored, and then there was that Terry injury. And obviously, I don't think Wenger's ever going to go full strength in it. But this year, obviously, we've been talking about the strength and depth. The second string is much better than it's been for the past sort of 5, 6 years, and the youngsters coming through are much better than they were for the 5, 6 years ago. I mean, people like Iwobi. I mean, Willock, he looks like a good young player as well. Akpom looks like a good player. I know Bielik didn't get on and stuff, but the players coming through look much better. So I think if the draw opens up, I think it's great. And in terms of the overall season, I always do feel that it's the sort of trophy that if you can win it in February, March time, the thing it does for the squad, it lifts the mood. I mean, Mourinho used to be someone who always wanted to try and win it. Pellegrini won it at Manchester City. Mancini won it as well. It's a sort of trophy you can get one in the bag and it lifts the whole place. And I think for our fan base, if we were to win a trophy, in March and then have 3 months left and we're still in the title race, we're still in the Champions League, you can imagine what that would do. I think it'd have a great effect. And if you beat Reading, we're in the quarterfinals, it opens up. I think Wenger would be foolish to not go for it, and especially because it's a trophy he hasn't won. So I'd be very surprised if it doesn't open up, that Wenger doesn't keep dropping a few players in there like Xhaka played, and with Lucas, like Raj was saying, he's going to struggle for game time. This could be a perfect competition for him. Can start all these games. So I think it's a tournament that certainly with the draw for the fourth round is opened up for Arsenal, and they'd be foolish to not go and have a little crack at it. And you never know. It's one of those tournaments that's quite easy to win. It's only 6 or so games, and you got a chance of doing it. So yeah, I think it's played out nicely so far. Anyway.
Yeah, agreed. And the one thing we've got this year, above many other years, like you say, which we're going to move on to in a second, is the depth and the ability that, whereas last season we might have brought in, well, you saw it, Sheffield Wednesday, the likes of Glenn Kamara and I think it's Flamini with central midfielders, and we had Bielik sort of barely ready to play, sort of forced into action. And with this year, it seems like we've got some legit, well, a couple of internationals. And experienced players, fringe first team players as well in that squad. So.
And if you remember that Sheffield Wednesday game, it was those injuries. I think, was it Walcott who got injured, and then Oxlade-Chamberlain came off the bench and got injured.
Yep.
And I think Wenger's sort of learnt with that. If you looked at the bench on Tuesday night against Nottingham Forest, it wasn't the strongest bench that Arsenal have had. And I think Wenger's kind of realised with that if he's going to play some of the big guns, rather than bringing on the cavalry with half an hour to go, let's let them play 60 minutes. Let's get the game won, and let's rest them for the last half an hour, which is always the way I personally prefer it. So I think going forward, that'll be the way Wenger will play it. He'll give someone like a Xhaka 60, 70 minutes. He'll give a Walcott 60 minutes, and then with 20 minutes to go, he'll bring on a youngster to see out a game and perhaps ice the cake, which I think is a better way to do it in this tournament.
Yeah, agreed. And the fact he got to take off Maitland-Niles, the Jeff and Akpom with, sort of 10 minutes to go or so, gave the opportunity for 3 more youngsters to come on like for like. So it worked pretty nicely overall. So into the next round we go. Danny, when is the Reading game? I haven't even looked at that. Is it a couple of weeks' time? 23rd. There we go. Yeah, so a couple of weeks' time we've got to look forward to. I think it's just before the next interlull, so that'll be nice. Right, okay, we'll leave that game there then. So before we transition into all the lovely listeners' questions, I wanted to have a quick debate this week, and I wanted to get the feelings from the panel on our squad as a whole. We've touched on it briefly with those 2 games we've just discussed there, but it's widely regarded that we did make the 3 signings, or 3 big signings that people were calling for in the summer in Xhaka, Mustafi and Lucas Perez. I want to just sort of get some thoughts from you all about where you see the squad, whether you see the potential for players to step up to another level, and is the competition for places going to help us in the pursuit on all fronts? John, let's start with you. What do you make of it? Because you were quite cynical over the summer about our movements, and rightly so to a degree. Are you looking at it now and thinking, actually, it's not quite so bad?
We're in a much better position than we were, obviously, at the start of the summer. I still think we took too long. We could have got deals done earlier. I think there was... it's hard to judge on Perez because obviously I haven't seen enough of him, and I hope he does well. So not necessarily passing judgment on him, but I think there was probably more well-established names possibly of a higher quality, depending on how he works out, obviously, that we're available for up front. The squad as a whole, I think, like, midfield's fine. I think our defence is much better now. The worry for me is up front. I don't think Alexis is a striker. I know at the moment it's working, but I'd look at the level of opposition that we're playing against. And as many goals as we've scored, we've still struggled a little bit in games. He, for some reason, is persevering with that, despite the fact that Giroud's back. Perez, we've yet to see if he's good enough. If he is, then brilliant. But I still think we're short in that area. And again, Alexis is fine if you play him wide. Walcott has been great at the start of the season, but how reliable is he really? Oxlade-Chamberlain's form has been nothing short of awful pretty much for the last, 2-3 seasons. So I think there was possibly an option for a wide player as well to come in as a bit more consistent. I really like Iwobi. I think he's been really impressive. Probably one of our best players of the season so far. But he does have the problem that he's extremely young. You can't expect to rely on him every game. And he's still not performing his defensive duties properly, which I'm not going to dig him out too much for because he is a very young player and that's something he's going to learn from the game. But in the big tests where the points really matter, say like at the start of the season against Liverpool, this game coming up against Chelsea, can you really rely on those players? And that's the difference between winning the title and not, basically. So I think top four I wasn't very confident about, but now we've made the signings, I think, we can do it, but I still don't think it's enough for the title. Sorry to be the voice of disappointment as usual.
No. It's the voice of reason on one side or the other. It's not, don't want to be uber positive. So, Raj, what do you think? Because something else I want to ask you and just touch on briefly as well is we've seen more comments from Barcelona this week about potentially Hector Bellerin having that dreaded Barca DNA, all that crap is resurfacing. Is the signings we've made as just as important as the players we've kept this summer? Because there was a bit of talk about certain players maybe looking at the exit door, but we've pretty much kept the strongest squad together and added to it this summer.
Yeah, I've always said that we shouldn't be selling players now. I don't think we have really done that over the last couple of years. And the players we've got in, I'm happy with the midfield and with the choices we've got there. I'm relatively happy with the defence and the goalkeeping situation, especially with Ospina being so impressive the other night. I think John's right. I'm not convinced about the forward lineup just yet, but that's only because we haven't seen enough of Perez, and he might well be the goal scorer that we want. And if he does turn into that, I think we'll be in a really good position. I think City are the team to beat this year. I think United and Chelsea are going to be up and down all season. So I've always thought we'd be top four. We're always going to be a top four club. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if we're the only ones that try and challenge City. I cannot wait until we play them to see how good we are against them. But yeah, it's the front line which is a slight concern. But you know what needs to change this year is that our midfield didn't score as many goals as they should have last year. And if they start popping in goals and we've got Xhaka scoring for 35 yards every other game, then we could be all right. So let's just wait. Let's not worry too much. I think there's a lot more to be seen before we can make judgments.
Yeah, agree with that. And Danny, you, of course, always bring up the past. You like to refer back to the good old days, and particularly the days under George Graham. Obviously, we didn't always have the most amazing flair at times, but we were always defensively solid. We always had a good back four, players who understood their roles, and we were always very hard to beat. Do you think there's a bit of a tinge of that this year? Lauren Koscielny seems to be hitting, once again, his top level. Mustafi looks like a good partner for him. Don't forget you've got Mertesacker to come back into that, and Holding and Gabriel are fighting for places. And also, even though not everyone was happy about Debussy sticking around, you've now got arguably 3 right backs when Jenkins is fit, and you've got 2 arguably as good as each other left backs to come in as well. So do you think defensively we're as strong as we've ever been as well?
It's definitely a good point. I think that the addition of Mustafi, who looks absolutely fantastic, that's the 2 things this season that have team-wise that have made me happy is how good Mustafi looks and just how good Xhaka looks. And I think both of those defensively are going to make us such a solid team. It's Gabriel still not been able to speak English, which has been a major problem, and I think his days at the club could well be numbered. I don't think he's going to be happy to stay around as a what's he going to be now, 3rd, 4th choice defender when everyone's fit. The only worrying thing is Monreal. He had such a great season last season, went unnoticed by many of the media, that he did such a solid job. And this season, I hope he. I mean, he's only, what is he, 31? It's
Don't think he's that old, is he? I'll look it up.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I know he's getting towards that age. Then he he should be coming into the prime of his career, but. Maybe it's just taking him a while to get started this season, yeah. But I think with Cech at the back and those brilliant central defenders that we've got, it's definitely going to be. Who's letting themselves down? Is that you, Raj, breathing into the mic?
No.
So it's lots of solid defenders, and I think with someone in the centre of the park like Xhaka who can use his elbows, and hopefully on Saturday will use his elbows. That's what we've needed for ages. It's just a shame that it's taken so long to get these players, and also a shame that Man City are going to walk away with the league. The whole league rests on two players, De Bruyne and Aguero. If they stay fit for Man City for the whole season, the season's over. Might as well give up now, because everyone else is fighting for second place. Man United are on their arse already. I mean, they finally met their level yesterday by playing a League One team. They managed to smash them. 3-1 wasn't.
Well,
wasn't
they got
impressive.
2 goals given to them, in fairness, but yeah.
It's like West Ham found their level playing Accrington Stanley.
Wow. Yeah.
Jesus, 96th minute. Anyway, so it's just a shame that we didn't have these players last season, because we would have won the league. Because he's strengthened now in the places that we were weak last season, but it's come a season too late. But we haven't got a chance this season. And if come January Man City aren't running away with it, the owners will just go, here's another £500 million, go and buy everybody else that you want. So sadly, I agree with John. How old is he?
30. You are not far off. Yeah, 30. Koscielny, Saka and Debussy all 31 now.
I thought you were talking about me then. I was going to say thank you very much.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Coming into the prime of their careers as defenders.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, defenders, you can argue that they are better at that sort of age. So we can but hope. Simon, wrap us up on this conversation. And obviously, we've touched on it with the other 3 panellists that we've got. Potentially strength and depth in all areas. Yes, there's concerns in some parts, but do you think overall, you watch a lot of teams in the flesh. You've seen a lot of teams over the past couple of seasons that have promised a lot, and some teams that have overperformed. Obviously, Leicester being the case in point. They won the league last year with barely changing their side, whereas we seem to be going at it a bit differently this season in the rotation side of things. So, do you think it says a lot for the fact that we have rotated, but our performances have stayed consistent?
Yeah, I think it is probably since, maybe 6-7 years, it's the best depth I think we've had at the club. Certainly in the midfield, I think the options Wenger's got there in the middle of the park. I mean, if you'd said 2 years ago on this podcast, we're going to be able to loan out Jack Wilshere and no one will really mind or kick up a fuss, I think a lot of people would have said you were mad. So that, for me, is a big example of how good an options we've got in the middle of the park. And the fact that, someone like El Nene, who I think's absolutely fantastic and a brilliant player, can't really get in the team at the moment. Xhaka, £30 million player, like we've been saying, can't really get in the team. So I think it's fantastic at the back. Mustafi looks like a good signing. Koscielny, there's lots of options there. As John was saying, perhaps up front, it's maybe a little lacking in absolute quality. But if you look at all the teams in the top 6, other than their frontline forward, not many of them have a good backup option. I mean, Liverpool have Sturridge and then it's Origi. Tottenham have Kane and then it's Vincent Janssen. So it's difficult to really find that world-class striker. But for the depth, I think it just shows that Wenger this year is trying to go for as much as he can. We've obviously seen it in the EFL Cup, as it's now called, that we put out a very good, strong second team, which means we can have a crack at that. Same will go with the Champions League. He can mix and match there and still go on that. And I think for Wenger, we've come undone with injuries and fatigue, trying to do so much. And we've seen the season unravel in February over the course of 3-4 weeks. It happens every year, doesn't it? February, March time, Arsenal, all of a sudden, they go out of the semi-finals of the League Cup. They go out of the last 16 in the Champions League. And it all seems to come too much when they have sort of 6-7 games in 3 weeks. It's all too much. Whereas I think now Wenger has finally got a squad where he can say, okay, we can deal with this now. We can chop and change and we can get everyone ready. So I think that's the idea, is why he's tried to spread it rather than perhaps, going all out with an 11 to try and win one competition. I think he's got a squad where he can cope with actually challenging on 3 or 4 different fronts. And for the club, that's a big step forward to what it was 3-4 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's we've got the best chance we've had in a long time to go on a decent run, and obviously that's going to be tested with Saturday's game, which we will preview a little later. But before we do that, Danny, we're going to turn the show over to our lovely listeners. Just before we do that, we probably should just take a moment to laugh at Harry Kane's injury, shouldn't we? I mean, we should really. Did you see that he was sucking his thumb as he went off on the stretcher?
Yeah, the
Did you
bag
see
of
that?
MDA, as we've had on good authority.
I just think he's a mong, personally.
He is
But
a turd.
we should have a little chuckle at him. But yes, what have we got from our lovely listeners tonight then, Danny?
Well, first of all, Nico, who is, I think he's a Danish plumber, says, every time I hear someone say that name, Ashley Maitland-Niles,
Conservative.
I automatically say Conservative. Thank you, AFC Podcast.
As do I.
Yeah, very annoying.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got some decent questions here. So you all had that thought or that had to think about the question I asked you about the result. Well, I'll come to that. Will be the last one that I do.
Okay.
If you could change anyone. But Brian Johnson, who's the only person to send us questions via email, so he's always get read out. Do you think Sanchez will grow into the centre forward position? I think we need an outlet. Against big teams like in the game against Liverpool where he couldn't hold the ball up. He says your thoughts, and then he goes on to say, and do you guys think social media is affecting modern footballers' ability of fulfilling their potentials because fans and media are so quick to hype and criticise players, and are fans now fickle? Simon, what do you think of any of that? Don't ask me to recap.
No, I think with the striker situation, it is a case of the opposition and the player suiting it. I think against teams like Hull, we saw against Forest as well with Lucas, it helps if you've got that central striker who can turn the back four, because they're so happy, these sort of centre backs playing for those teams. People like Jake Livermore, Harry Maguire obviously came on. These are big, tall centre backs who would happily all day battle with Olivier Giroud, grab his shirt, elbows, battle for balls in the air. They'd love that. And I think against those sort of teams that are going to sit deep, someone like Sanchez, who's going to be busy in and around them, he's going to get them turning, he's going to be movement. I think that's where the advantage of playing somewhere like Sanchez is. But I agree, with the question, there are certain times, and perhaps against Liverpool we saw it, when we're playing a team like that, where it's helpful to have Giroud to hold it up and to bring in the likes of Ozil and Iwobi. So I think we'll see with Wenger over the course of the next 6-7 months of the season that he will chop and change it. But given what we've seen these 6 weeks, I think Sanchez is a viable option. And tactically, it makes sense from time to time to do it, because certain defenders won't want to play against someone like him.
Yes.
Can I have a mention of the social media thing?
Go on then.
Is interesting. I, like most people, could not give a flying monkeys about the opinions of Danny Mills. I think the guy is an absolute air thief. But he occasionally, as with everything, sometimes somebody makes a good point, and he did make a good point on Monday. And he was talking on Radio 5's Monday Night Club, and he said this of certain modern players. Players are now very different. There aren't so many characters. They can't deal with it. Players become so sensitive, whether it's because of social media, the way they're brought up through the academy system. You can't tell players the truth anymore. Sometimes they need that. The other problem we have is that the spectators are now becoming too intelligent. You can't pull the wool over their eyes anymore. They see too much. They listen too much. Sometimes you have to tell them the truth. It wasn't vicious or harsh what Mourinho said about Luke Shaw. Mourinho has been there long enough now to know that he may need a kick up the backside. He's been criticised for not being too fit before. Maybe he's not putting it in training. And as I say, I don't agree with a lot of what Danny Mills says, but I think he makes some fair points there. And I do think that it's not just the fans on social media nowadays. I do think some of the players get caught up in the hype about how good they are. I think Paul Pogba is experiencing the other side of being a £90 million player at the moment. And players are too sensitive. And it's almost like when the army started dishing out comfy shoes for the troops to run in. Do you remember when that happened? And it's almost like we've gone a little bit too soft in how we judge players and how we manage players, and sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade. So I don't know if you got any thoughts on that. Raj, have you got any thoughts on that?
No, not really.
Well, honesty's the best policy.
It's so just what it is. I mean, if players are going to start believing stuff on social media and stuff, then they're fools. They've got one person they need to listen to, and it's the coach, and they should be professional enough to ignore what's been said, and get on with get on with their careers and stuff. I suppose there are the younger element that gets swayed by what I say or what Jeff says or what you say, Chris. But it's all bullshit on Twitter. I mean, I just spend most of my time taking the piss out of people and retweeting funny things, and it actually bores me now more than ever. It's just a load of rubbish, and more for the player that actually heeds any of that stuff. To be quite honest,
it's quite funny that it's you see the players that are affected by it are lots of them are English, or they've come from English academies, even if they are foreigners, but they've grown up here and learnt everything about here. Whereas all the players who've been at academies on the continent or even in South American places like that, they're much better educated and don't really pay much attention. You don't see them getting in anywhere near as much trouble. So I think the academies. I think that not that the academies are necessarily at fault, but I think there is, in particular with English players, young English players, they've got a. Oh, I'm 18. I'm getting 20 grand a week now. I can drive a Ferrari. I've made it already without even being in the first team.
Did you see Troy Deeney on it, Chris?
Yes.
He gave a very good point where he said some footballers on Twitter say, "Oh, if they win," or some of this is footballers on Twitter. He says, "If they win, it's a great team performance. The fans are great. If they lose, it's not quite right today. We'll get it right next week. The fans are great." I sit there and laugh. At some point, someone's got to look at that and say that's nonsense. That's
so
basically
true.
it, isn't it?
Yeah,
like Raj is saying, it's all just people just shouting.
His thoughts on Rabonas as well. I love that. That's a couple of weeks ago when he criticised West Ham for, and he said that essentially fired Watford up to come back, and I really liked that. I never forget the line in I think it's Meme Machine with good old Vinnie Jones, and there's a skit where there's one of the convicts is doing keep ups, and he says, "You see that? You want to do that? Join a fucking circus." And never forget that line, and it sort of reminded me of that. So I think you can go, as you say, too far in a game and too far off the pitch as well.
Yeah,
but
he
agree
said
with
the
John's
same the
points.
other day, didn't he? He was saying everyone thinks now that to be a professional footballer, you've got to look like Ronaldo, have feet like Messi, and great hair like Neymar. Come on, Kevin Davis had a great career, nearly all of it played in the Premier League. Why can't you be the next Kevin Davis? Which is a sad thought, but fair
it is.
point.
Yeah, I do like Troy Deeney, I must confess.
Yeah.
Danny, let's have another question.
Yes, right, that one I can't do now. This one will just be a yes, no, in Raj's case, don't care. From Jack Armstrong, do you think we should start Perez up top against Chelsea at the weekend, John?
No.
No.
No. It's much too early.
Yeah?
No.
Why?
Much too early.
Giroud's suspended for the Basel game anyway, so you might as well play him.
Giroud all day. I would have started Giroud anyway.
Yeah, I would have started Giroud as well.
Yeah.
He's got to hold
mate.
it up. I want someone who's going to throw an elbow and get physical. And
Absolutely spot on.
John Terry just be coming back from fitness, so it'll be perfect for Giroud to.
Exactly.
I think Sanchez might struggle on Saturday because of everything we've just said actually over the last 15 minutes. That he's a bit too much hustle and bustle, and the defenders will sort of suss him out straight away. So we'll see.
Sorry, Raj. I quite happily have Giroud and then put Sanchez back on the left because Ivanovic at the moment is really struggling for Chelsea. He's not being in great form.
Giroud's not fit though, is he?
I still think he's dropped for being in the Champions League.
It will be Sanchez up top, but I don't think that would work. I mean, I hope it does work. I
think it might be Giroud, maybe. I think it might.
I didn't realise he was available, to be honest. So
I think he is going to be available, but I get I'm with Raj. I think it'll be Sanchez, and I think Wenger will look at. I think he'll look at Alexis's pace, whether it be David Luiz, which could be quite fun, whether it be John Terry or Gary Cahill, who, by the way, has not been great this season. And I think he'll look at Alexis and think, actually, we can get him behind them here, especially with pace on the flanks. They've essentially got a mark three wide forwards, and their fullbacks are not particularly quick either. So I think he'll go with Alexis, but I would probably prefer Giroud and Alexis wide, like John said. But
they're a different team without Zuma, aren't they, at the back?
Yes,
I think.
Yeah, he'll be him and Luiz will be the future, and obviously Luiz is 30, isn't he now?
Worth every penny. How dare you?
yeah.
Chelsea are not on a great run of form either. I mean, they've got 10 points, but they've beat shit West Ham. And Watford are average. Burnley are not very good. They drew with Swansea. And the only challenge they've had again, they lost against Liverpool, like us.
The one thing about John can probably elaborate on this. The one thing about a Conte team is it might suit Arsenal more than lots of other Chelsea managers we've played in recent history, because I think Conte will look to attack, and I think he will probably play. John, do you think he'll be more of a high line, the sort of the Juventus style against us, or do you think he will park the bus? Because I don't think it'll be quite as it has been against Arsenal in the past with his setup.
Yeah, we're at home, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I still think he'll sit deeper, but it won't be like Mourinho, old school, all sitting behind the ball. Every single man's in their own half kind of job. They do like to press, and it's the one thing they'll have to cover loads and loads of ground. So if we do our usual sort of keep the ball and pass it around, then we should be able to knacker them out really. Because if you're in Conte's team, you have to run non-stop. Because if you don't, that's it. You're straight out the side. It's why Fabregas hasn't been playing because he just doesn't cover enough ground.
Yeah, I agree. Danny?
Just having a chit chat with Andrew from Arsblog, just telling him his SoundCloud is knackered. They uploaded today over 200 of their podcasts in one go.
Oh,
I stopped counting at 200.
He's in New York, isn't he? Because he's released one early because he's away for the weekend. Yeah.
Yes, and they're all still getting listens, which shows just how good their podcasters are. Right, so we've asked that one. The Flame of Blancas one is the one I'm asking at the end. Neil F1, he says, can anybody actually see Jack returning next year? And if so, in which position should he play? Go on, Raj.
Absolutely no chance. Jack Wilshere has played his last game for the club.
Wash your mouth out, sir.
Controversy.
Well, he has. If you think he's going to get in any of that lineup that we've currently got, he's got no chance. I honestly think he's played his last game for the club. I think he will be sold.
I'm going to have to mute myself. I'm going to have a cry.
Well, it's true though. You've got to look at the reality. I mean, it's my opinion. I may be completely wrong. He'll become the greatest midfielder we've ever had, but that ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. If he was in the squad, if he was at the club now, he'd got no chance getting in the first team. He's got zero chance.
Maybe
Have you seen him play for, is it Bournemouth?
No, nobody has.
Yeah, Simon has briefly, haven't you, Simon?
Yeah, I saw him make his debut against West Brom. He's just not match fit at the moment, so.
No, he's fragile. He's broken.
I think it's make or break for him. I think make or break this.
The fact that he was the one that I think I'm right. Am I right in saying, Simon, he was the one that pressed for the move in the end?
Yeah, I mean, I think the England squad came out, didn't it? And as well, I think it was abundantly clear, like Raj said, he wasn't going to get in the first team. So fair play to him for going and doing it. And I do think it's make or break. I think if this move goes horribly wrong, he's going to have. I think he's got a year left on his contract. I think maybe or 2 years, and I think they'll have to cash in on him unless he's happy to come back and be a squad player. He loves the club. Someone like Carl Jenkinson, that sort of mentality. I'll happily be a squad player and I'll play a bit part. I can't see Jack, given his personality and his love of playing, that he'd want to do that. But I think I still think he'll come back and have a chance. I think in his mind, I think he'll see him his opportunity to get in is to try and replace that Cazorla role. But as we've said, that's where we think Xhaka's going to play now. So
I think if we don't win or challenge for the league properly this season, which I'm still not convinced about, or the Champions League, then there's a chance Ozil leaves, which means Jack will come back.
You don't think
just to really depress everyone.
I think Ramsey would go 10 if Ozil went. I think, like in his Wales sort of role.
I don't think. I mean, Santi has shown from, especially against. Did he play against? No, was it Forest he played against where he made the tackle and he killed someone? He showed earlier in the season, but not really that far in. Yeah, I knew it was one of the games that I watched the highlights of today and I couldn't remember which one. Where beginning of the season where he went to play out wide left for the last 5 minutes of the game and that didn't work. And now we've shown he's tackling like that. That's not really working.
Well, that's the other thing. I think Santi will end up going back to Spain maybe the end of the season.
Yeah, I really hope Santi doesn't play against Chelsea. I think did he get sent off last year? I think he gets overrun in those sort of games.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be Santi's going to leave next season, and I think the Cox's best days are behind him because I think he's a substitute player. We've got better players. The starting two for us this season should be Ramsey and Xhaka, with El Neni coming on for either of them because I like him for both. So there's going to be spaces next season. But like one of you was saying that he has to have a really good season, a complete season at Bournemouth, and if he doesn't, It's gonna be sad times.
I think I'd start El Nene and Xhaka. I think.
Yeah,
I like El Nene's
And
brilliant.
he reminds me
Imagine
of
those
he
two
reminds me of
shooting.
Edu. I don't know if it reminds me
Yeah.
of anyone else. Of it. He reminds me of
Yeah.
Edu. There's something about him. Just
kind of an
dunno.
Edu Gilberto sort of hybrid, isn't he? He's got
so
that sort
fluid
of.
across the pitch.
Has anyone noticed a bit of a side question here? Has anyone noticed the transition in Francis Coquelin's game this season? Because I
Getting forward a bit
makeshift
more.
centre forward.
well, yeah, more that he appears to be more of a box to box player this season than just a holder. Like, it seems to me like he's been given more of this freedom to get up the pitch and affect the play further out. Albeit his shooting is still appalling, but he does seem to be winning the ball higher up. And I wonder if perhaps it's one of Wenger's sort of tweaks with the side where he's saying, you know what, we're still playing with two holders, but if we can actually go up the pitch by 10 yards and win that ball, we can leave Santi as the quote unquote quarterback and just have that presence in midfield racing around winning it. And then maybe when Xhaka is introduced as more of a regular presence, you can put him in the Santi role and say, right, we'll have the shield of Coquelin in front of you doing all the harrying around. You just get on and make big tackles when you need to and spray it from distance, because his passing is excellent. Like, and already John knows, obviously, having seen him before a lot, his passing from deep is exceptional. It's never just a hoik upfield. It's always with an eye to finding a player. So I wonder if the Coquelin role has almost been adapted, because one of his strengths has always been his ability to cover ground.
I wonder if it's also partly because Santi can't get up and down anymore, and it's born out of that.
The legs. Yeah.
It's nice that Santi is going to get quite a few games this season. But we were all talking about the end last season that he could be leaving in the summer, but that wouldn't have been a fitting way for someone who's given so much to leave the club. So now this is probably going to be his last season, and he's going to be giving us loads, and it's good to see.
And if you haven't seen the video of him recreating Thierry Henry's goal against Man United, the flick up and hit it over your shoulder, do watch that. It's where was it you found it, John? It was on Facebook, wasn't it?
BT Sport did it,
BT
didn't they?
Sport,
BT Sport.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They got him, Xhaka, and Özil. They were recreating a goal each. I think Xhaka's one was Stankovic.
Is it John Jensen's one against QPR?
No, he didn't. No, he did a Stankovic goal from the halfway line, I think it was. But they let him take it with his left foot because Stankovic hit it with his right foot because he said, otherwise I won't get it in 4.
I might kill someone.
They're still trying to prise Theo Walcott out the hedge now.
I haven't seen Mesut Ozil's goal, what one they're going to make him recreate. But yeah, Santi's one's brilliant. His little fist pump in the air and Mesut, look, I did it.
Right, who here has got a bee in their bonnet when it comes to Sanchez? And I'll give this question to you.
Silence.
All right, I'll just say it.
Who's got a problem with Sanchez, you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's got a problem with him. It's just...
Well, wait to hear this question.
Sometimes he just bustles too much. Do you know what I mean?
Swedish
he needs
Freddy.
to calm down a bit.
The Swedish Freddy says, why does Alexis love to dribble, spin, dribble,
oh, there you go.
and lose possession? And why does he get away with it? It winds me up. So go on, Raj.
Because we all love him. And he also does actually try very hard to get the ball back again. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it can be frustrating if he goes through a period of just, as I said, it's like too much bustle sometimes. That's the only way I can describe it. And he needs to pass it a bit more. You know, every now and again, he can't do, dribble past 4 defenders and stuff like that, which he tries a bit too much. But you can't fault him. And the reason we love him is because he is world class, and also his work rate is so high, so he does try and rectify his mistakes. That's all I can say about that.
It's a bit like having a naughty puppy that shits indoors. Every other shit is pure gold. You go, I'll put up with it.
You got the urge to rub his nose into his shit, but that's what he want to do. He still loves the puppy.
He never hides as well, does he?
No, that's the thing.
No, exactly, spot on. Absolutely.
Yeah. You got to take the rough with the smooth. When you love somebody that much, you can love your wife for 100 years, but ultimately she will still fart in bed once upon a time, and you'll go, Jesus Christ, love. And for that split second, you hate her, but then you love her again. So, no, he's still one of our very best players, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right, next one from Rich Beckers, and Dom, you fanny, if you're listening, put your fingers in your ears. And I'll give you I'll text you when it's time to take your fingers out your ears, Dom. Rich Beckers says, has Shad Forsyth made a difference, or will injuries hit us hard again? And as we all know, nothing. We're going to have to make it up. John, what do you reckon?
Thanks.
As Dom's number one fanny.
I don't know. Like so far, everyone seems to be fit. Actually, Dom did mention something the other day, talking about the Ramsey injury, because I asked when he'd be back, and he said he looked it up and there wasn't a definite date yet, and he said he was happy that they hadn't given a definite date because he said he was given more time off because it's a muscle injury, and that was what it was really worrying him about Ramsey, that he was getting repeat injuries in the same places. So he thinks it's a good thing. And Dom knows a lot more than I do about those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, it's about time we've got some luck with injuries, to be honest, because we've had the last 3, 4, well, I don't know, 10 years probably. It's been terrible, isn't it? And it's always at the worst time. It's always when we've got like a load of Champions League, FA Cup, and everything all jammed in at once, like 10 games in 7 days or something stupid. No, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I just did Danny logic. But yeah, I hope we'll be fine. But if you want a proper answer, go and ask Dom. Yeah, tweet him and he won't reply because he hates questions.
Talking about you saying how many games in how many days, do you know out of our next 7 games, 6 are at home?
Good, isn't it?
That is madness. Simon, did you have any wise words on the thing that I've just asked that I've already forgotten that I've asked?
I think the injury record will get better. 1, because Jack Wilshere's not at the club anymore, and 2, because the depth is better, so the squad can be rotated more, I think. So
Yeah,
I think that will help a lot. The players can come in and out the side. But having said that, Cazorla played 3 games in 7 days, and he looked okay. So yeah, I think long term they were always hopeful that Shad Forsyth would do well. He was so highly rated when he worked with the German national side for that World Cup winning team. And at the moment, the injuries that they've had so far have been, other than Ramsey, haven't been soft tissue injuries. So yeah. Well, when we get Dom on here, we'll ask him.
The other thing that I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed, is that the players who have been injured, particularly I think of the Gabriel case, they seem to be coming back quicker at the moment. The pre-season, we had a couple of pre-season injuries. I think Santi had a knock and was back within a week. And there, I say, there's talk. Gabriel obviously came back last night. I think he was 2 and a bit weeks ahead of schedule. So maybe they're learning the lessons, or is it maybe we are just getting a bit of luck. But if they're just changing the training regimes, maybe that's helping to improve it. But it's like Simon and John have just said, we're due some luck. And wouldn't it be lovely if we went into November, which we all know is the month where we lose every single game ever? It would be really nice to know we could go into maybe the November period with half a squad. So we expect them all to be banjaxed in about 3 weeks.
Right, shall I go to the next question, ladies and gentlemen?
Mm.
Okay. Noma, who goes in the chat window when we do the radio live shows.
Lovely, yes.
Yes. Who's the goalkeeper who played for Marseille last season? What was his surname?
Mandanda. Yeah.
I think she's got a surname just like that. Mab
Yeah.
and La. Not sure how you say that, but she knows it and she's probably laughing because I've messed it up. She says, do we have an on-pitch leadership problem, e.g. Santi not insisting on taking the penalty and nobody telling Iwobi to defend first half on the weekend? And she got all that into one tweet by shortening it, because I said everything has to be in one tweet. Simon, what do you reckon on that?
I mean, it's actually quite weird because I was listening to an interview with Gary Neville the other day, and he was talking about when he was doing the punditry. It was a while ago, and you might remember Morales took a penalty off Baines in an Everton game, and he missed the penalty, and Neville got it in the neck because he described it as an absolutely disgraceful act, of disobeying team orders. And I've got to agree with him, to be honest. I thought it was so selfish from Sanchez to take that penalty. And Wenger came out afterwards and said, Cazorla's supposed to be taking it, that's the order for pens. And for Sanchez to take it, I think is bang out of order, and I'm hopefully that Wenger would have said to him to not do that. Whether it's an issue of on-field leadership, I don't know. Perhaps, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if Adams or Vieira had been on the pitch, they'd have said what you're doing. But I think that's a case of where it is in the squad that there isn't an out leader in the team. And Sanchez is probably the best player on the pitch. And if he says, I'm going to take the penalty, people fall away. But I thought that was a disgrace, to be honest, of him taking the penalty instead of Cazorla, when Cazorla had scored his last 2, hadn't he, and done so well, and especially getting that one in the last minute against Southampton. And perhaps it is a bit of a worry, but that's the state of the club at the moment that it is for the season, and just going to have to lump it or like it. So,
the only
do you
excuse
reckon,
for that.
Oh, go on, sorry, Danny. Do you reckon, John or Simon, that people are starting to tread on eggshells around Sanchez because this contract situation is looming
Well,
at some point. And
there was the story, wasn't there, last season about him, storming down the tunnel when he got subbed off. I can't remember who it was again. I think it might have been in the FA Cup, maybe the Hull game, that he stormed off down the tunnel and things like that. And instance like that, I don't know whether that could be a case of it, that they're worried about upsetting him or angering him. But the case is you can't have that in the team. You can't have someone being off on their own and being a Lawrence themselves.
there is this, Ozil and Sanchez, their contracts end in 2008, 2000. They need to sign one by next summer. And then obviously Kris mentioned about Bellerin starting to get tapped up by Barcelona. And I read in the newspapers, maybe it's all bullshit now, but they're holding off on Bellerin, not because they don't want him to sign a new contract, but they're contracting more on the other two to get their deals done before they even address Hector's contract. But it's going to be interesting how they deal with that over the next year or so, isn't it?
Hector's got one more year, and he's 2019. I think
Yeah.
the other two are. I mean, you're right. If you've either got to sell him next summer or get him to sign by then, you can't. That's it, isn't it? It's the last chance. But
Can you imagine all three of them? God.
I think Bellerin's very, very happy at Arsenal, but it's difficult to turn down Barcelona, isn't it? I can't really picture where Sanchez or Ozil would go personally.
No.
I don't know where. Maybe
City.
Chris would. Maybe
Pep would take Sanchez, I think.
Yeah,
Didn't you
yeah,
say
absolutely.
Bayern for Ozil, Chris?
Yeah,
PSG maybe something like that.
Yeah.
You go there. Sanchez, Juventus have wanted Sanchez
Yeah, for a long
quite
time.
I mean,
quite a
they'd
while.
go well with the contract. They might not go for that much money, but you think they'd go for a fair amount given the market rate.
The weird thing about the on-field leadership thing, just go back to the question a little bit. Monreal, you saw him a couple of times really dig Iwobi out in the first half
Yeah.
alone about not tracking back, and he still didn't do it, which is a little bit of a worry. Again, he is a very young player, but you would think that someone who's that senior in a squad like Monreal should, if you're a young kid, you should really be paying attention. So you would hope that Arsene saw. I'm sure he did see that happening, but you would hope that he would pull him aside and say listen to the older players in the squad. They're there to set an example for a reason.
Who
You
is
should be paying
captain?
attention to him.
Koscielny.
Koscielny's captain, right? So
Well,
he's not that strong.
Mertesacker is technically, but Collins
Koscielny's
is
vice, isn't he? Yeah.
Gibbs was captain, wasn't he?
on
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a nice touch by Wenger.
Again, see, it's a nice touch, but I don't think that's Gibbs doesn't strike me as the sort of player who's going to rip someone's head off if he needs to.
I haven't been to many games, but has Xhaka been shouting and screaming
That's
at
what I
people?
was going to say. I bet Xhaka would. He was
Xhaka does bollock.
Yeah.
Even on that short time he was on pitch the other week, he gave a couple of bollockings, and Mustafi does it as well. And I was just about to say, possibly in the future, Mustafi or Xhaka could be a captain at Arsenal because they don't flinch from that kind of responsibility. They're quite happy to dole it out if players aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. You can actually see them actually giving out right old bollockings on the pitch, which is fine by me, to be quite honest.
And a lot of it.
Xhaka was captain last season at Gladbach, and there was a few stories about him in the dressing room picking out certain players, and then also digging himself out in front of the whole squad when he got sent off for the third time just before the winter break, and then he didn't get sent off again in the second half of the season. He made a real example and tried to explain to the other players what they needed to do, and got Gladbach into the Champions League. So he's definitely one for the future for that role.
Yeah,
lot-
definitely.
A lot of it comes down to the way the setup of the club is as a whole as well. I mean, some managers prefer, like for example, a Tony Pulis team. You can't imagine a Tony Pulis team having a leader by example, quiet, sort of goes about his business captain. You'll only imagine an old-fashioned, grizzled, Shawcross type. Whereas with Arsenal's philosophy of never shouting and being calm and composed, you would imagine that's why
But
he's
it's
gone
not-
with
It's not true
Koscielny.
of his older teams, is it? Because
No, not at
Vieira,
all.
Adams, Campbell.
Vieira is lucky they did both, wasn't he? Same
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Henry.
But
Yeah.
all
They got three,
that,
wasn't it?
that team, they all dug each other out all the time.
Mm. Yeah, it's Sol Campbell, another one. It's hard to know, but it depends what you want in your captain. But whatever it is at the moment, it seems to be working. And if it gets Theo Walcott tracking back, then we can't really argue, can we?
He's become
No.
very loose on the captaincy, doesn't he, Wenger? He
Mm.
sort of almost has this idea of like a club captain,
Never
like,
has put
like
much faith in
Arteta
it, has
was,
he?
who was apparently very, very good behind the scenes with all the young players. I mean,
Yeah.
if you talk to some of the younger players, they'd say they go to training and he'd be stretching muscles you didn't even know you had, and all this sort of. And he was fantastic apparently with them. and you had almost a non-pitch captain. So I think he's a lot more loose about it than an old school idea of, perhaps 10 years ago, of everyone thought about a captain. I think he's changed his views on it.
Agreed. Yeah. Good question, that.
All right, next question from Double D Ravioli. He says, "Will
Sounds like one of John's. That's one of John's Saturday nights, isn't it? I think.
Danny, can you just spell his name? It is not ravioli.
Ravioli?
That's what Raj is eating.
Yeah.
Ravioli. Ravioli.
Oh, it is ravioli.
Ravioli,
Bloody
yeah.
hell, that's the first, people. Frame that.
That's it, yeah.
I'm gonna top myself now. I'm never gonna get better than that.
I thought you were going to spell it Jones or something or whatever.
Anyway, he says, "Will the matches against Chelsea, Spurs, Everton, and Man United define our season?" And he's put in brackets, "Assuming a draw with City will be good." What do you reckon, Chris?
Define a season is a bit of a. So it's a bit of a tough one to answer because it'd be so Arsenal to win 2 or 3 of those and then throw points away at Burnley or something, or
That's the exact team I was thinking of.
Yeah, or the opposite way round, where we crap the bed against the big teams and then we manage to pick up the points against the small teams and hope the big teams lose. The biggest problem we've got this season, from what I can gather so far, is that of all the clubs, Man City look to be consistently consistent in that they seem to do the same thing every game, win by 2 or 3 goals every game. Granted, they haven't really had any serious opposition yet, even Man United. But United still look like a team finding their feet, but they're going to win more games than they lose. Chelsea the same. Everton, Koeman's done a great job there so far. They've looked impressive, but they still have I would say a limited squad beyond their first choice. It just depends how we turn up. I think it's more about the attitude. If somebody said to me now, you can take 2 draws and 2 wins from those 4 fixtures, I'd take it. But the one thing we cannot do is go up to Old Trafford and lose like we did last year. And I think it starts Saturday. A good performance on Saturday, and potentially 3 points will make the players believe again that we're not a team that will always fold when we face the big guns.
Yep.
Anyone else got any thoughts on that?
I'd have to
I think
reluctantly agree.
Like Raj said, that Man City will be the yardstick and the litmus test. I think when we play them, we'll know how good we are. I think.
But Chris makes a good point in that we've got to now start beating Man United and the Liverpools and the Evertons and all those teams as well.
Chelsea as well. When was the last time we beat Chelsea as well?
Chelsea as well.
1702.
It's Van Persie,
After the Battle
Stamford
of
Bridge, wasn't it?
Hastings.
Was it like no? Was it? Yeah, I think
We
it
beat
was that
5-1, didn't we?
Oh
Yeah.
no, we beat with a Theo goal.
5-3.
didn't we?
5-2. Well, even Andre Santos scored, so they must have been shit then.
We beat them at the Emirates over Christmas, didn't we? On a Walcott goal a couple of years back.
2-1.
Yeah, that was the last time. I
We
think.
don't beat them that often because they spent most of their time in Division 2, where they belonged.
True that.
Chav twats. Right, next question is I've done that one. Javi, it's got the little thing above the A, so I take it it's Xavi. He says, is it possible to have Cazorla and Xhaka pairing in the midfield? And he's followed that up with, also, would we be any good with a 4-4-2 lineup, play Giroud and Iwobi as strikers? Who wants that?
I didn't even hear that.
John can have that.
John heard it.
Thanks. Cazorla, Xhaka, yeah, I think we can play that quite easily. They can both find a pass. They can both create a goal. Against most teams in the league, we're going to dominate possession. Xhaka can sit deep. I think, like Simon said earlier, Drew made the point. That he's not really a DM. He has played that role for Gladbach before, but it's not his proper position. But he can do it, and we've seen Santi put tackles in. But against the sort of quote unquote smaller teams, we're going to have all the ball. So I think actually it might work out better having 2 players who have got an eye for goal themselves, can make a goal, because Mesut Ozil gets marked out of games so much that it frees up space for one of those 2. As for 4-4-2, I wouldn't actually mind seeing Iwobi play up front. A couple of people have mentioned it. He looks so good for his age. I'd love to be able to play 4-4-2 because I think you could play Iwobi or Sanchez with Giroud. I don't know whether it's feasible to do it anymore in modern day football, because it's so important to keep the ball in midfield, especially. I know Leicester did it last season, but they set up to counter every single game, and it worked out well for them because everyone sort of underestimated them. But sorry, Raj just made me laugh in the chat. Yeah, I don't think 4-4-2 would work nowadays for trying to win the title anyway.
Would have to be a 4-1-3-2 than the other way around, wouldn't it? You'd have to take one out of the holding midfield.
I'd play two up top if we could play three at the back.
Which we never will, ever.
I'd do that all day long.
Yeah.
Or just do that time when we were doing our Arsenal best 11 and I picked 12 players and we couldn't figure out what I'd done wrong. Yeah, that works, didn't it?
Yeah, that's the future.
What nonsense is Raj typing there? Oh, because it's his birthday recently and he's hit a milestone. He's hit that big 3-0.
30 again for the 20th time.
Right, more questions. Jimmy, NN Guna, he's always good for a decent question.
Top man.
He says, what sort of violent act would finally get Costa sent off? Nothing has done the trick so far. Simon?
I mean, he's done pretty much everything, isn't he, in the book? I think I can see him next going for like an eye gouge or a little bite, I think, next. But he looks good this season, but I think this is probably the best centre-back pairing we'll have played against Chelsea with Mustafi and Koscielny. So, and if we play Coquelin, and Xhaka in front of him, I think this might be the one time that we've got our best chance of keeping him quiet because he's got that sort of Drogba knack of bloody loving playing against us and scoring against us. But he's due a sending off this season. He's already had 3 yellow cards, I think. So he'll get suspended soon.
Anybody else got any ideas of what he would have to do to finally get sent off? I reckon if he gets the referee in a Boston back grab, then twists him enough. That could get him in trouble.
I think this weekend, if he starts, could be Xhaka's first red card. But if he gets one,
take him with
Diego Costa isn't getting back up off the floor.
No.
So
he has to retire.
It's
I'm
almost
not
worth
too
it,
upset
isn't it?
about it.
He'd be loved by the fans, Xhaka, wouldn't he, if he did that?
Didn't someone in
always
football
worth
just
it.
get a 10-game ban? I was listening to the Hipsters pod earlier. Did you say who was it?
It's my boy at Lorient, Benjamin Jano. He pushed the referee and was given a 10-game ban for it. But the weird thing is it's not like a Paolo Di Canio, Paul Alcock situation. It was one of those where he's sort of running into the path of a pass. The referee's in the way, so he kind of shoves the referee out the way to try and get into the pass. And the referee took great exception in a way that only Mike Riley could. And and he's subsequently been banned. The French FA are not an FA to fuck with. They are quite severe in their bans. So yes, expect Mario Balotelli to get a 6-game ban at some point.
Okay, John and Raj, what one thing do you reckon you'll have to do? Keep it short.
I'd just love it to smash Costa in the face. I would stand up and applaud him on Saturday if he did that. I don't care how many games banned he got, and I just love it. Just smash him. Just punch him. Really, just do it for me because I got that urge every time I see Costa play.
As if he's taken one of your toppings.
I mean, it's like if he's nicked a bit of pepperoni off me, do you know what I mean? It's like I would smash him so hard, and so just smash him in the face, right in front of me as well. I'd just cheer. Honestly, I'm very quiet when I watch games, so I get very stressed. So I'm not a big noisy kind of fan. So, but that would get me up, and that would get me cheering and all sorts going on. I'd love it, and I think 60,000 people, or at least 55,000 people, would just stand up and cheer that one. We wouldn't care.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if just, one of our players, first minute in the game, absolutely went through him as hard as they could, and as they get up off the floor, make sure they step on his ankle by accident and all that kind of thing, just to get him wound up right at the start of the game. So he's straight away in the ref's ear complaining because he can't resist. And then that's it. The whole crowd's then booing him every time he does something, calling for a card, and eventually the ref will just cave. It's that sort of play you've got to do it to.
Just do that like we did at Old Trafford that day. Just constantly and mock him and
we wheel Keown out just for one more game.
Yeah, or just get Mark Overmars out and just get him to eat him maybe.
Whatever happens, just don't play Gabriel. For Christ's sake.
Crikey, no, that wouldn't end well with it.
He's nuts, but not the right kind of nuts.
I think Mustafi might have a good game against him. I think his style is suited well to market him. I do think he might be all right. I hope I'm right.
Next question from my favourite type of goose, a facile goose.
Oh, yes.
He says, if we win both Man City games, will we win the league? Yes or no, Simon?
No.
Oh, Raj.
Possibly.
John?
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, Chris.
No, because I think we'll lose other games, sadly.
I
But-
think we will. It's not going to happen, but I think we
Mm.
could. Okay. Remember that question from La Fama Blanca. That's going to be. I've got one more coming up. This is just a quick one. Mark Bonner. What has been our best and worst Scandinavian import? Now, I've been led to believe that is Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and possibly Iceland.
Iceland.
Finland don't count, I don't think.
Does it not?
I'll have to look. So, I've got some of the names. Limpar, Schwartz, Jonsson, Lyderson, Kallstrom, Shaban, who should get the winner, Bentner, Jensen, Larsen, Nordvalt, and Olafur Ingi Skullerson, who was Icelandic. So,
I never liked Bentner. I never ever liked Bentner. He was
you.
like a goose-stepping, chewing gum chewing wanker with the arrogance that didn't match his skills.
Makes
and
his
I
own
think
jewellery, though.
It's like he's one of many players that have left the club and gone downhill. And there was a little bit of pity in me when I saw him playing for Nottingham Forest the other night.
So he's your worst. Who's your best?
Best? Oh, don't know.
Offi Inga Skulason.
Yeah, give it to him. I don't care.
We've had quite a few youth players as well in the past. I think there was one. There were twins. It might have been that one there. John, what do you reckon?
Worst has got to be Norvite. Only because I've got a vendetta against him. Because
He was
not
at your
only did
club,
he
wasn't
leave, he left Arsenal. We also left Gladbach, the bastard.
Gone to West Ham.
West Ham. And he had a really good season last year. The best. He's probably not the best one, but he was my favourite anyway. Because I always try to recreate the way he'd hit a ball. Was Schwarzer, Stefan Schwartz. Sorry, I absolutely loved him. Yeah, I don't know why. Just number 15. Did he have? He wore 15.
Yeah,
didn't he?
I have the shirt hung up in my the old '95 Lightning Bolt shirt. Yeah,
Probably our best one. Probably to be fair was Limpar, but like technical wise, but yeah, Stefan Schwartz for me.
What do you reckon, Chris?
well, it's Freddie, isn't it? I mean, it's Freddie. Full stop. I love
That
Freddie.
is where you got your username from.
It is, yeah. Don't get.
Partly.
I named my son after Freddie Lundberg. True fact. But no, Freddie, everything. I remember when we signed him, he had a brilliant game against England for Sweden. We signed him for I think it was about 3.5 million quid. Debut goal, lobbing Peter Schmeichel at Highbury in a 3-0 victory over United. The red hair, the tattoos, the swearing on national TV. During BBC coverage, just loved him. And his work rate, that Pires Ljungberg Bergkamp triangle during the day. I mean, everybody talks about Thierry Henry and rightly so, but we forget how good those attacking players were, particularly in that double winning season. The goals that Freddie got from midfield. I remember vividly a game against Ipswich. It was 0-0, and we were really toiling, and he just popped up with 2 late goals and won us the game. Similarly at Bolton, I remember that same season, and he was just so good. Anders Limpar, I'll always hold a candle for him because he was a gem as well. And like John says, Stefan Schwartz. And a special mention for big Kimi Kallstrom as well. Didn't do a lot for us, but that penalty and that piece of writing, I don't know where Simon will know where it was published, but where he talks about his love for the club, even the 6 months he spent there.
He put it on Reddit, didn't he?
It might well have been, yeah. It's a brilliant piece of writing if you haven't seen it. Just look up Google Kallstrom Arsenal or something. Yeah, his short period of time, and I loved him as a Leon player. He's a Leon legend. So yeah, there's 3, but for me, it's Freddie all day long.
Simon?
I was actually about to say Kim Kallstrom, but simply because of that story. Yeah, it is on Reddit. You can find it. It's great because he talks about when he flew into London and he was going to do the deal and he had to change cars at a service station to check they weren't being followed. Did his medical and Wenger signed him anyway, even though he knew he was injured. He got injured playing volleyball, hurt his back. But he talks about his love for the club and how instantly, he knew he wanted to play for Arsenal. It was a dream come true. And obviously that penalty as well was just coolness personified. So he was up there just for that anecdote and his 6 months there. But in terms of their ability, I mean, Limpar and Lundberg are the best. And worst, just because I think he didn't fulfill his talent, is Bentner. As a youth player, he was promising, and he fucked about. I mean, you look at his track record of nightclub problems, speeding fines, contracts terminated. He's just a fuckwit, so he's probably the worst.
I think I'm going to go and I'm going to pick Shami Raban because he never minds when I mess his name up. He's coming back again this season. And the worst one, I suppose I'm going to go for Siggy Jonsson. I think he was he was Icelandic. Well, I think his name's Sigurdur. And I remember going to a game and then just before the game reading that his name was Sigurdur, and I thought, oh, that's a really cool name. I wonder if I shout it at him, and thankfully I didn't. That was the late 80s.
Do you remember Pal Lyderson as well? Do you remember when George Graham
Yeah,
signed
he's on
him?
my list. PAAL, Norwegian.
Yeah.
Still doing stuff in football, I think.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
I think the Reverend has a question.
Oh, go on, Rev. You got your trivia question? Have you unmuted yourself?
Oh, he's dead.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, he's there.
Go on then.
Good trivia question, which I've just seen on Twitter. It's absolutely brilliant, actually. Obviously, you guys might be talking about Arsene Wenger's 20 years next week on his 20th anniversary. So how many managers has Real Madrid gone through in the time that Arsene Wenger's been manager at Arsenal Football Club?
Wow.
This is going to be one number from each of you, please. So, Chris.
14.
Danny.
26.
Simon.
Does it include caretakers?
Yeah.
I'm going to say 29.
John.
32.
The answer is 22 managers.
Jesus.
That's honestly, someone's put a list up. So Real Madrid have gone through 22, Chelsea 17, Barcelona. Barcelona, one of the most successful teams in the last decade. 13. Bayern 13.
Spurs had.
Bayern 13, Liverpool 8, Man United 5, Arsenal 1.
Jesus.
I bet you Spurs have had a lot.
So no matter what you say about Arsene Wenger, I know I'm one of his biggest critics. Bloody hell! I mean, look at the other team. 22 managers.
And to keep us solidly, whatever you think of the top 4 argument, to keep us in that, I mean that's some achievement, isn't it? I
would never ever hand on heart take away any of his achievements at the club. As far as I'm concerned, I've got an opinion about a change, but in reality, he is the best manager that I've seen as a supporter of the club. I can't comment on Chapman and stuff like that. I know there's all sorts of arguments going on. And he's earned his place in the pantheon of kind of legendary figures at the club. That's what I'm going to say. I'm sure you guys will say more next week.
Yeah, we will cover the anniversary next week, Danny, won't we? It's just we're going by what the clubs say, which is the 1st of October is his anniversary rather than what's going around at the moment. So we're going to leave that to Mr. Gimli to deal with next week. So passing the buck.
Right, the final question. I've told these lot, you might even hear this in the extras when we're talking about it. La Flama Blanca, if you could reverse any result during Arsene Wenger's reign, which one would it be? So, like, if we lost 2-1, change it to we won 2-1. So, Simon, which one are you going to go for?
Got to be the Champions League final, 2006. Simply because it was obviously a European final, but I just think if we'd won that, it would have been so different for the whole club, I think. For keeping players and Wenger, and it's got to be that one, 06 Champions League.
John?
2004, the quarter-final against Chelsea, the Wayne Bridge goal. It finished 2-1, didn't it, that game? Just reverse that result. We go undefeated in the league. We can chuck the FA Cup game because no one really cares about it. We go on to win the Champions League. Mourinho's career is completely different. He doesn't end up at Chelsea. He, floats around Europe, doesn't win much. No one gives a shit about him. Chelsea fail. Abramovich gets bored of the club much quicker, fucks off. The big money experiment fails. And I don't think Henry goes to Barcelona as well. I think, like Simon said, I think even if we'd won it in 2004, I think a lot of the players would have stayed to try and help through the sort of transition period with the new stadium.
Okay. Who wants to go next? Chris, go on.
We had a lot of debate about this, didn't we, pre-game? I'll go with the 90. I think it's a 99 FA Cup game with Man United that went all the way to extra time, and Dennis missed that vital penalty. Schmeichel saving it. Just because I think didn't United win the treble that year? Was that the season they won the treble?
Yeah.
It wasn't it?
Yeah,
99?
That's what Roy Keane said, that when they won that game, they knew they were going to win trouble.
Yeah, and I just felt that was a season. I believe that was the same season where we went to Spurs and won 3-1 when Carnu did that flick over. Was it Stephen Carr's head and volleyed it home? And the same night, I think United drew with Liverpool at Anfield 2-2, and we thought we were going to do it. And then I'm sure it's the same season where we lost at Leeds. And Nelson Vivas went walkabouts and Hasselbank headed them, and we lost that.
It's the Bolton game, wasn't it?
Was it the
Was
Bolton game?
as well?
I might
Or
be
it might
getting
have been,
confused
might
with my
have been
season.
both in that season, yeah.
But yeah, but that FA Cup game, to bring it back, that I remember as a youngster being absolutely distraught when Dennis missed that penalty, and then obviously Giggs and his horrible chest hair and all of that crap that went with it, and it was just so. It just felt like that was such a key moment in our season, in our title chase and FA Cup chase, and I just felt for Dennis because we deserved to win that game. We really did. And
No one ever digs out Vieira for giving the ball away.
no.
Giggs
Or
got
Lee
on.
Dixon for going to grounds. Yeah. Or David Seaman for going under the ball. And yeah, there's so many. But no, that was a tough night. And I agree with Simons and Johns, by the way, but we all had to go with something different.
Raj?
I agree with all the ones that you just said. They're all heartbreakers. The one that really hurt me was the 4-4 against Tottenham about 6 years ago.
David Bentley.
And it was I think we were 4-2 up, and everyone had fucked off. they'd all left celebrating a win, and most of the Tottenham fans had gone as well. And me being lazy, didn't want to leave, so I just sat there, and those 2 goals went in the last 2 minutes or something, 94th minute or whatever. It was the worst feeling in the world, because I'm part of a Tottenham family, so it was just phone calls and texts all night, basically taking the piss out of me, and it was horrendous. It was just something that personally I just I died inside when that happened. I know we didn't lose the game and stuff, but having been all over them for most of the game and then conceding, there was that ex-Arsenal player, what's his name, that scored the first goal.
Bentley.
Yeah, Bentley from 25 yards. And I thought, oh God!
And he tried it every game from then onwards.
I
know,
exactly. He just had one good game, and it was against us. But yeah, it was a weird one because most of the stadium was empty. There's only about 50 Tottenham fans left, and they were going mental when they scored the 4th goal, and it was horrible just walking away that night. It was just, I don't think I'll ever forget that.
My one, stop me if you know what it is. 2nd of February, 1991. No? Chelsea 2, Arsenal 1.
Yeah, the only game we lost that season.
We were a gnat's testicle away from being the first proper, because Preston did it in the first ever season when there was only 8 teams in the league, but we'd have been the first proper modern team to have gone an entire season unbeaten. Alan Smith scored for us, Kerry Dixon and Graham Stewart, and I always thought that we had a penalty. We took the penalty and scored it. That would have meant we equalised, and then we were made to take it again, and we missed it. Now I don't know if that's something I dreamt or whether
Didn't
that
we have
really
loads of players banned? Didn't Hillier play centre back for that game?
He come on for Bold to play at the back, Hillier takes the blame for me. Terrible man. But we had a decent team: Seaman, Dixon, Bold, Linnigan, Winterburn, Davis, Limpar, Merson, Thomas, Groves and Smith.
Saying about David Hillier very quickly, I follow a site quite closely called Footy Headlines, which some people will be aware of, where they sort of they cover like new kits and new equipment each week and that sort of thing. And there's a guy who comments regularly on there, and his username is David Hillier's Suitcase. It never fails to amuse me because I just think of all the players you could pick, David Hillier's Suitcase. I don't know where it's come from, so if anyone knows who that is, do let us know.
There is a story behind that, and he's told us what actually happened.
Oh, of course, naturally.
Yeah, so
but to have that as
trumped up charges, that's all we're going to say.
Yes, indeed.
It didn't really have much to do with anything. Right, that is all the questions. Thank you very much, everybody, for the absolutely brilliant questions.
Yes.
Some really interesting ones there, so I can now close that window and go back to looking on Amazon for a Connect, because Lee, the Tottenham fan, wants his back.
Oh dear. Just don't give it to him back. He's a Tottenham fan.
Oh, I've gone and closed that window now, haven't I? I've got to make a note of the bloody predictions.
That's indeed what we're going to do next, Danny. Yes, we'll finish with predictions and shout-outs, as is always the case. So it's Chelsea at home on Saturday. I am gutted because I got offered a ticket this morning, but I can't go because I can't get back, which is really frustrating. But nevertheless, shout-out to Andy who offered it to me. So what do we think then, gents? Raj, let's start with you.
2-1 to Arsenal, and the first goal scorer will be oh God, I'm going to go for Sanchez again.
I like it. John?
I'm going to go 1-1 Costa.
Realistic. Simon?
2-0 Koscielny.
Ooh, bold. Like it. Danny?
1-1 Hazard.
Oh, Azar.
And if the listeners at home and in the tractor, last for the Forest game, I forgot to get a prediction off of one of you lot. So could you just all send me a prediction for every game, and I'll use one of them at random because no one does it, and it makes me feel sad. And it's the listeners' team, and you're at the bottom of the league at the moment.
Oh.
Who's top? Who's top?
You two, yours, Chris, and I'll find out.
Okay, cool. I think I'm near the top because I've got 3 of the last 4 bang on score-wise. So this week, I'm sure I'll cock it up. Let's go. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. Bit of a thriller. Seems to be a popular score. And I'll go for... Oh, he hasn't got one for a while. I'll go Santi just to wind Davies up.
Ooh, 3-1 Santi. Right, the update of the league is first place, Chris with 10.
Yeah.
Holic with 9, Steve
Jesus.
with 9, Chimp with 8, but he's the
What?
only one to have got a 100% correct result. Raj on 8, so you're only third, Raj, only 2 points behind. Dom, me, and Luke are on 7. Didn't Luke do a blog this week? I think he did, didn't he? Luke is premium. Go and check out our blogs. Go to our website, bergkampwonderland.co.uk, not .com, because we are in the UK, well, England.
Or at the Bergie blogs, of course.
At the Bergie blogs, Mr. Jeff Hulenfrunden. He's in charge of that lot. 6 points is Simon, Jeff, Jason, and the guests. 5 points, Carl, Shredder, Kate, Fife, and Gimli. 4 points, John, Drew, and OG.
4?
You didn't get me a prediction, did you? You and Drew couldn't be bothered.
No, it was hot. There was only one game.
Yeah, we've only played 5 all season.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
And last place, the listeners, which is sad times. So
It's nice to see GA struggling at the early stage of the season with his 2-1 Giroud. This is good to see that.
it's not working out. Is it actually?
No.
Jeff got a no prediction in the Hull one. No prediction from Shredder, John, Chimp, Carl, Drew.
Oh dear.
Sad time. I always
I
get
was
all mine
waiting
in.
for the lineup and then I forgot.
Yeah,
It's,
that's
it's
Shredder's
those,
excuse.
it's those midweek games, Danny. They catch us out.
Oh,
That's
that
what it
didn't
is.
come through.
Oh dear.
What he had.
Yes, if you want to read Luke's blog, if you go to @thebergie_blogs, it's the one that's pasted pinned to the front page by our good pal Mr. Jeff.
Every Tuesday morning about 6 a.m. they go live.
Indeed, they do. Yeah, @Lucas Premium is where you can also find it. It's on Wenger's rotation. Is it helping or hurting? So do give that a read because it's good, especially if you work in a boring office and you've got nothing to do at lunchtime. So
Are you due one up soon, Simon?
I certainly am. Yeah.
Ooh, do you want to give him a little hint of what it might be about?
Depending on if Wenger puts Xhaka in the team, it'll be based around that. I think.
Not about Thunder Bastards, is
Could
it?
just be a 600-word rant about Thunder Bastards.
Shit, fuck, shit, fuck, shit.
I've actually
Yeah,
taken
it won't
money
need
to see
much
that.
spell check at least. So.
Good.
Ah,
Okay, we'll finish with some shout-outs then, and then we will get out of here. Danny will obviously plug bits and bobs. So, shout-outs, where should we go? Let's start with Simon, go in reverse order. Simon, who's your shout-out?
I'm just going to give one shout out tonight for my brother because it's his birthday today.
Oh, brother Kris.
Yep.
Brother Quiff.
He's actually got the big 3-0 today. He's 30, and you can follow him on Twitter at Captain Pants UK. Fellow
So that's
Arsenal
your brother?
fan. Doesn't tweet much, but yeah, give him a follow.
Do you say that's your brother?
It's my brother, yeah.
My brother doesn't like football. He's a Liverpool fan. Kind of sums up.
Of course
doesn't
he doesn't. He's a Liverpool.
it? Yeah. He couldn't name a single Liverpool bloody player. He only does it to annoy me.
Bless
At
him.
least my mum and dad support Arsenal and the daughter and the daughter's mother.
Hush. John, shout out.
I was furiously trying to find one, and I completely forgot that I had to do one. So I will go to. Oh, it sounds terrible now. I'll give it to Jimmy at NN.
Oh, good
at NN
choice.
_ Guna.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Give it to
He's,
Jimmy because he always sends in good questions for here and always good interaction on Twitter. So give him a follow.
yeah, he's at NN _ Guna. But he's in the States, isn't he, Jimmy, I think?
Yes.
Memory? Yeah. Good chap. Raj.
He's not actually on Twitter, but if he was on Twitter, his handle would be at Pep Guardiola Big Bollocks for actually standing up to an agent this week and telling him to fuck off and apologise before he played one of his players,
Yeah.
which I was very, very happy and very impressed about.
Yeah.
I know he's an opposition manager, but I like the way he's dealing with things at his own club, and that was brilliant to see.
Said you've got
Yeah.
to apologise to the fans, and then the club, and then myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Brilliant.
Selleck is an absolute arse of a man as well, from what I can
Yes.
gather. Real
He was on
I
the
loved
phone,
it.
wasn't he, on Sky Sports? And he went,
Mm.
"No, I won't."
Yeah,
You've
well then
just
your
fucked your
player
over.
won't play. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is with Yaya Toure is you get the impression he probably doesn't really care.
No,
Because, well, you know my views on Yaya Toure. We won't go there. Yes, good. Okay, Danny, have you got anybody you'd like to?
I certainly
little nod
have. Like most weeks, I picked the person that last followed me. So if you time that correctly, you might be the lucky one. So it is a bloke called Charlie the Chump, and is at Grind It Out. And it says, deplorable 52%er, English husband father, individual liberty, low tax, small state, wasps rugby, COUW, must be wasps. And he said, third generation Arsenal Red member, and he's from London. This is come on, you gooner. So there you go, Charlie the Chump.
Splendid, like it, Charlie the Chump. Mine, I want to give a very quick thank you. Oh, hang on, Simon
You're
wants
not
to
gonna
break the
carpenter
rules.
this, are you?
Oh God, go on, Simon, break the rules.
I just want to give one more to at Arsenal_pirate for his
You mean Jeff
Account.
Hollandfield? Yes, right.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's brilliant Arsenal pirate account.
And if anyone can give us the fact on like who it actually is, the account is, it'd be amazing. We're all pretty sure that it's Chris.
It's not me.
Will not-
Location is the Southern Seven Sisters Sea.
It's not me. If
And who's just been tweeting Chris all,
if-
fucking week.
if anyone should know a bit about fake Twitter accounts, it's a certain Mr. Raj Patel, by the way. So, yeah,
Not me.
it is
Nothing to
quite.
do with me.
It is quite a good account, whoever it is, Jeff. Anyway, right, I want to give a thank you to Kat, Var, Gaz, and Kelly. You know why. But my shout out goes to Korosh, who is at Dorf_Gooner. He's a lifetime Arsenal fan. I believe he is based in Germany. He also has another account which is at KMOZ Corner. So he's got two different accounts. Sent me a lovely message this week with our other podcast as well. He listens, and he sent me a really nice message thanking us and myself for our hard work to bringing him content every week. So a big nod to Korosh, and yeah, top man. Give him a follow.
I've just made the name for this week's pod.
Have you?
No,
No,
Sanogo. That's going to be the name.
Very good.
And guess what the end of music's going to be?
It's going to be
No,
too unlimited,
no,
isn't it?
no,
Yeah.
no,
Superb. You've created a monster. Look what's happened.
There's no dandruff.
Right. That will do us for this week then. ABW Radio will be back after the Chelsea game on Saturday night. Danny, you're back with me again, aren't you? You lucky thing.
I was confident in that, wasn't I, John?
Yeah, I
As
wanted
you-
a day off, to be honest, because
John's
I've
unavailable.
spoken to Chris every single day this week on
He
Skype.
really has. He really has. But, Danny, we do have Mr. Shredder and Mr. Davies on this week.
Jesus, imagine if
So-
we lose or it's not a good game.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant.
Cunt,
One way or the other.
bastard, cunt, bastard, cunt. Just be that for an hour. Be like Simon's blog.
It's going to be superb. I'm looking forward to it. Right, okay. I will just thank my panelists this evening. Danny, you have to be here. But thank you to Raj, to John, and to Simon.
And Gimli would say thank you to you.
Well, naturally. I just stand in to turn the lights out. It's all good. A pleasure,
Yes.
never a chore. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland. And as always, keep it Arsenal. And we'll be back very, very soon. Over to you, Danny.
No, sir, no, go. No, sir, no, go.
Hello.
Oh, you're right, Raj. You've gone very quiet.
If I had to shout out the last person to follow me back, Today it would be at I Love Arse Daily.
Yeah, I was
So I
going to
don't
use
think
your
I
trick
should
as
really
well,
give a
Danny.
shout out to that one.
I had bikini something lunchbox.
I had that the other day as well.
Has anyone noticed this severe number of sex bot trolls who
Yeah.
frustrate
loads.
Twitter?
I used to go and try and block them because you don't want them, and you don't want the eggs following you because it makes it look like you've gone and bought them. But I've got fed up trying to block them all.
I also see it as flattery. So
There is your there's your end credit, Danny, right there. Nice thing. that is superb.
Well, now we just got to hope that the recording worked.
Well, yeah,
But it
let's hope
seems to be
so.
quite stable. John's done it as well, so.
I'm not doing it again.
But you have to adjust my one because so my volume is one level, and then the rest of yours is the other level.
I was going to shout out the bloke, the Scandinavian geezer who was on the transfer deadline day show I was
Can't
on.
remember who the bloody hell he is.
7
But
inch
I
king,
haven't got his. It's not 7-inch king.
isn't it?
No, I think he's in America.
that's another account that follows.
It's a guy called. Isn't he called Ola or Olaf or?
Well, why don't I go and have a look and then see if I can find his.
There's only 9 Twitter handles on the YouTube page, and there's 10 guests or 10 people on.
Oh, that's because
I think his one's not on there.
leaving.
Oh,
Guys, I'm going to make a move.
Hello.
Cheers.
what's going on, mate?
Cheers, my dears.
Happy
Cheers,
no
guys.
dates,
Talk to you
Raj.
soon.
Hello.
Say Raj.
All right.
Bye.
Cheerio. How long was that out of interest?
No. Hour and a half, hour and 3/4.
Hour and 40 minutes, I reckon. Hour and 50 minutes.
Oh, I thought that was all right.
Yeah.
Good debate.
Yeah.
That's Southampton. I'm still...
Only one fact, John. Disappointed, mate. Need to up your game.
Oh,
It's almost like you forgot till the last minute.
I'm so annoyed I didn't forgot to shout out Pirate Guna first time round.
Well, isn't it System 019? Is that him?
Straight fucking face the next time round.
Oh no, that's Ahmed with the beard. Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, I don't think it's Ahmed.
No, it's not. Definitely wasn't. Oh, that's really annoying. I'd have to listen back to it now.
I'll listen back to it because I know exactly who John means. It was the blonde lad, John, wasn't it?
He's from Sweden. And
Yeah.
He does something with football, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. He was really very very good. I agreed with John. He was very good,
Yes.
and we will have to drag him on by his
I'm
pubes.
sure I followed him after that.
I think you said you did. It's whether we are thinking of the same person.
There we are.
Chase was last week, wasn't he?
Who would have that?
I said Chase was good last week, wasn't he?
Oh, he's always good.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Bloody hell, Vitesse won 7-2. Oh, against De Dick. That's a great name.
Was that the Dutch Cup?
Yeah, De Dick 2, Vitesse 7.
What was that noise?
Boop, boop. It was a Skype note.
One dropped out of the call, I think.
Silly boy. Oh, I don't think I am following him. Maybe I already was. That's annoying now. So hard keeping it to a strict 400. Otherwise I have too many. You can't see who's doing what.